and gentlemen, let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
And sends it down the middle, looking into the whites. It was retrieved at the 30-yard line by Kadarius Toney. He dances and breaks a tackle, runs laterally on the 35. Blockers ahead the near side 40. Blocker at the 50 on the near sideline, the 40. Getting a block at the 30 down the near sideline, the 20. He gets another block at the 10. He spins to the 5. This kid's electric. All gas, no break. Down to the 5. Down to the 5. Third and goal for Philadelphia. Mahomes, shotgun snap, backpedals and throws a pass. Wide open, spinning catch, 5 into the end zone. Sky Moore. The Chiefs have compounded their lead now with 9:22 to go. 34-27. Shotgun snap, blocked by Pacheco. Moving up, moving to his left, now to his right, running up the middle, 40-yard line. Here comes Mahomes at 30. A foot race to the 25, the 20, and he's down inside the 15-yard line of the Eagles. Winchester, the snap. The hold by Townsend. The kick is away and good! 27-yard field goal to take the lead. Shotgun snap to Hurts. Dropping back, only one person rushing. Hurts looking, standing still, winding up. Long pass. It lands at the 20. No one is there. Zeros on the clock. It's over! It's over! The Chiefs have won! The Chiefs have won Super Bowl 57.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Yeah, they did. That happened. Do you like apples? How you like them apples? Super Bowl 57 champs, the Kansas City Chiefs. We talk about it today over the next 4 hours. We'll talk about it probably tomorrow, the next day, the day after that, the day after that, the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 10 years. I don't know. We'll be talking about this game, one of the classic Super Bowl games, and the Chiefs found a way to come out on top, 38-35. They get the win. Patrick Mahomes, two-time Super Bowl MVP, two-time regular season MVP. Andy Reid, two-time Super Bowl winning coach. And this dynasty now with 2 Super Bowls, 5 AFC championship games, 7 straight AFC West Division titles, 3 Super Bowl trips, 2-1 in the Super Bowl. And it ain't over yet. And they have revamped, restructured, reorganized, rebuilt, whatever the hell you want to call it. They have re-won the Super Bowl. And who knows how many more over the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. 913-3810810. We'll open up the phone lines today. There's a lot of stuff to get into, a lot of sound to play, so we may not get to a lot of calls, but that's okay. We'll probably open up the phone lines tomorrow too. And then we got the parade coming up on Wednesday. That's right. Let's have a parade. Let's all go and have a parade on Wednesday. Like what, 60 degrees? Just beautiful sun shining, a sun-kissed afternoon or morning on Wednesday. Should be great. School's out all over the city on Wednesday. Cannot wait, man. Cannot wait. 913-3810810 is the phone number. This one feels... So, I don't know if I'm the only one that feels this way, but I would guess not. Waking up in 2020 on February 3rd, it was emotional. I had no idea that I was going to get emotional on the air. I cried in the first segment of that Monday show, still in Miami at that time. Had no idea that that was going to happen. Didn't plan that. Obviously, I'm not that good of an actor. You know, I'm not Anthony Ramos here, okay? Because I root for teams that win. I'm sorry.
Oh, God,
damn
he's
it.
not even
Again,
here,
he's not
Jason.
even
Come
here, and
on,
he's catching a stray L. I'm sorry, Anthony. EGOT, you're going to get it
He was
one
also
day.
in a Super Bowl commercial in the Transformers movie. I mean, he's doing
exactly
fine.
right. He's doing just fine. EGOT.
Hey, was he in a Super Bowl commercial before he was on with us?
No, he wasn't.
Don't think he was.
Was Rondé Barber in the Hall of Fame before he was on with us?
Sure wasn't.
Nope, he was not.
Was Kurt Warner in the Hall of Fame before he was on with us?
Yeah,
Yes, he was. But that's
there's always the exception that proves the rule.
exactly right.
So that day I woke up really emotional for getting to experience that in my life. that never thought that would happen. It was always some other team. It was always somebody else. We got it with the Royals. Were we gonna get it with the Chiefs? And we did, and it was emotional. Waking up today is satisfying.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like not a prove it, and maybe validating shouldn't be what you need when you win a Super Bowl to then validate that you are good enough, that you are the class of the AFC when you've been to 3 out of 4 Super Bowls and you've had the Arrowhead Invitational every year in the final weekend of the playoffs and the championship Sunday. But this one does have the feel of validation, of satisfying, of it's legitimized. It's not well, you had a good fourth quarter against the 49ers, and you had a great run where you came back in all those games and double-digit deficits, and you won that game, and then what happened the next year? You lost. What happened the next year? You didn't even make the Super Bowl. Then you go up against the Eagles this year, and you lose that one. So, really, the history is getting there but not being good enough. You're like one step above the Bills when they went to 4 in a row. They didn't win one. That ain't a dynasty when you win 4 AFC championship games, but you don't win a Super Bowl. You got to have at least 1 Super Bowl, 2 to be called a dynasty. And whether it's a dynasty conversation or not, I didn't wake up as emotional as I can't believe it happened. I woke up with a very satisfied feeling today and a back atop the mountain feeling today, where maybe it is a spoiled Chiefs fan feeling. Maybe it is an entitled Chiefs fan feeling. Try to be self-aware. I think that's certainly part of it. But it's the feeling that I have of, I know Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. I know the Chiefs are the class of the AFC, and they've been that for a while. And then to have the evidence there to put 38 on the greatest defense we've ever seen assembled, to not give up a sack against the greatest defensive line that was ever assembled, is pretty damn satisfying. To see that happen last night. It's also satisfying because, full disclosure, halftime lost faith. Lost total faith.
Really?
Full disclosure. I was down at halftime. I did not enjoy Rihanna at all, which I may be the first person that's ever said that in life. And I was just simply sulking. Mahomes was injured. They just put a field goal on the board to go up 10. Yes, the Chiefs were getting the ball to start the second half, but they had back-to-back possessions where they went 3 and out, and then Mahomes gets brought down and hurts his ankle. What happens then? They had a touchdown, a missed field goal. Andy didn't go for it. Nick Sirianni is keeping the pedal to the metal. You can't get off the field on 4th downs. It felt like it just wasn't going to be the Chiefs' night, and it felt like the conversation today would have been, well, the Eagles did have the better team, and the Chiefs had Mahomes. So all of the scoffing and annoyance last week of that being the take feels like that was the right take. And then the Chiefs came out in the second half and just whipped them in the third quarter. Just whipped them. I mean, they outscored the Eagles by 13 in the second half. Obviously, they have to in order to, win the game by 3 when you're down by 10. But it felt like more than that, right? It felt like an avalanche that was there. I mean, they were up 35-27. They were down 24-14. They went on a 21-3 run against the best team that was ever assembled in the history of the league. And they didn't do it with a fluke. They did it by driving 10 plays, 75 yards for a touchdown, 9 plays, 70 yards for a touchdown, a punt return by Kadarius Toney, and a 5-yard touchdown, and giving up a field goal in there, and then getting off the field on 3rd down and 2 because that 3 and out the Chiefs got pressure on Jalen Hurts all 3 plays. First down, when the Chiefs took the 28-27 lead after the Kadarius Toney touchdown. First down, Jalen Hurts rolls to his right. Carlos Dunlap was in his face. That's when he threw the ball to Dallas Goedert when Leo Chanel was there.
Dude, oh.
So Goddard was so annoying last night.
So annoying.
Because he was so good.
Part of the thing for across the board, the Eagles were great. They were great.
Good.
Such a good game.
Keep
cooking.
It sucks that, he's on my fantasy team. And I'm like, damn it, that's why you're on my fantasy team. But stop it, Dallas.
Come on, Dallas.
Stop it. So that play.
Nobody cares.
Thank you. Second down, Spags brings McDuffie on a slot blitz, which then Jalen Hurts reads that, so he pulls the ball from Miles Sanders and throws right to the blitz. But Juan Thornhill is sprinting straight ahead, reading that, hits Pascal right as he catches the ball, minimal gain. Third down and 2, Willie Gay blitzes, free, Hurts has to stop, roll to his right. Willie Gay and Carlos Dunlap are angling and fast enough to where Jalen Hurts cannot turn the corner to pick up the first down with his legs, and he just has to throw it away. They're at their own 30-something yard line, and Sirianni decides to punt the ball. I was shocked he decided to punt the ball at that point when the Chiefs were up by 1, and you hadn't stopped them the previous 2 possessions. I was shocked at that. The Chiefs had gone 19 plays for 145 yards the previous 2 possessions and faced 2 third downs. And he punted the ball. I couldn't believe it. We're sitting there watching the game, and my brother and I, because it's on the sideline where Jalen Hurts runs out of bounds after he throws the ball, and you see the special teams unit starts to run in, and we go, he's punting! He's punting the ball! It goes back to what we talk about all the time, Josh. Mm-hmm. When the other team wants you to do something, you probably shouldn't do it. Mm-hmm. And I was so pumped that he was punting the ball. And we had talked about the nerves that were there with Kadarius Toney, or the punt return, I should say. And you and I discussed, and for whatever reason, I didn't have nerves with Kadarius Toney back there.
And he had that little kind of scoop and run early that would have given you nerves. I also didn't. I trust Kadarius Toney with my life at this point.
He has been so good with the ball outside of one play where he had the ball in his left hand and he was about to turn the corner for a touchdown.
That's right.
And the guy reaches out and hits the ball and he fumbles. That was unfortunate. If he beats that guy to the corner, he scores on that play. He didn't. He fumbled. Other than that, he has been sure-handed with the football. And it feels like he's been close multiple times to breaking one. So as soon as they punted that ball, when it's from the end zone, my nephew and I were talking about this. As soon as he punted the ball, I was like, uh-oh. Because the Chiefs were lining up to the left, and all of the Eagles players were running and following the blockers, and he punted a line drive to the right to Toney. And I guarantee Toney in his mind is saying, I just got to get back to the right. How do I make a move and get back to the right? Because all of the Eagles then followed Toney, and the Chiefs were setting up the return on the other side. And he's there to make a guy miss.
Just like we all predicted. Huge special teams plays in the AFC Championship game in the Super Bowl.
There are so many things to take away from this game. It is such a satisfying feeling, a validating feeling. And for the talk about the better team all week long, and the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes, one team got 2 sacks and scored on defense, and one team had the special teams difference maker that set up a touchdown. You can make an argument defense and special teams scored 14 points in a 3-point game.
Yep.
So which was the more balanced team? The team that was Jalen Hurts and nobody else? Or the team that was Patrick Mahomes, an offensive line, Pacheco picking up 70 yards, the defense getting a touchdown, 2 sacks, and the special teams returner taking it down to the 5-yard line, setting up a touchdown? Who had the better team? The Chiefs did. They had the better team and the better quarterback. But on that night, Jalen Hurts was magical.
Magic, man.
He was amazing. And a lot of people felt like the game was going to turn out the exact opposite. That Jalen Hurts and the Eagles were going to have the well-rounded game, and Mahomes was going to be magical, and they were going to fall short. That's not what happened. It's not what happened last night. And a couple of other points, and then we'll, Josh, I want to bring you in. A great post-game last night.
Thank you. I've gotten most of my takes out there
so
far.
I know, but it was
take
great.
Your sweet time.
There's a lot of, doubling up on takes that'll happen and rewording takes over the next 3 years. From 2019 to this year, the 4 years, 2 Super Bowls, a couple of years in between. I tweeted this out a little bit ago. On the 53-man roster last night and the 53-man roster in 2019, 42 of the 53 players are different. 80%. 5 starters last night started in the Super Bowl in 2019. 5 of 22 starters. You paid your quarterback almost $40 million this year, and you have changed out 80% of your roster and won another Super Bowl. That's organizational. That's top down. That's ownership. It's Brett Veach and all of his staff. It's Andy Reid and the coaching staff, and it's the players doing their job and coming through and making plays when plays have to be made. It's phenomenal. And this team moves forward in great health, great cap health, great draft capital health, and it is a phenomenal day to wake up and be a part of Chiefs Kingdom.
It's so funny to say that 38-35 Super Bowl was kind of perfectly played by everyone on all sides of the ball. Like, how many legitimate mistakes do you remember? There are a few. Jalen Hurts dropping the football, trying to switch hands or whatever. Huge mistake, obviously. Look, man, that kind of stuff happens. It happened to Mahomes in the AFC Championship game. Even the magical ones drop a football every once in a while. But there were 1 billion points scored in this game, which was played very well defensively. Dallas Goedert and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith were making crazy plays. Jalen Hurts was making outrageous plays. Steve Spagnuolo had a good, not just game, a good first half. A good first half where they gave up 24 points. Everyone in this game was just at their peak, man. It is a delicious Super Bowl for all sorts of reasons. And to the point you made at the beginning, and I have a little better feeling for this now today than I think I did last night. But we were working through it a lot last night. I opened the show saying something very similar of, this feels different. Not lesser or worse or dulled, but there is a different feeling. And I think you're onto something where, for me, Sammy Watkins against the Titans and Wasp in the Super Bowl were the moments of, I can't believe it. It is actually happening.
Damian Williams turning the corner with the block from Byron Pringle was the moment. Was the moment that, oh my God, it's happening. They're going to do this.
And there was some amount of disbelief to it, not because the team wasn't good enough or because we weren't already in on Mahomes, but because we've watched, depending on how long all of us have been alive, we've watched 50 years of, if not bad football, just insufficient football. Close but no cigar, or not even close to any cigars. We've been on all sides of that.
There was no Pat Mahomes the first.
Correct.
Smoking those Philly blunts.
There was no Philly blunts being smoked through my childhood watching football.
And my childhood watching football.
And almost all of our childhoods watching football. And last night, I think the emotion last night was, hell yeah! Oh, yeah! Oh, it's still happening. Oh, yeah, we're still up here. Oh, bring it on, everybody. Like we were all out there strapped up, ready to go. Because
we were all Jon Snow in the middle of the field.
Seriously.
Like for no reason.
For no reason at all. None of us had to block Hassan Reddick. This is not, we didn't do that much work. But there is something so tremendous about the monkey off your back, exercising the demons of the first Super Bowl. And then post-game, Travis Kelce says this is even sweeter because there is no second guessing it. There's no fluke talk. This is an established dynastic thing. These Chiefs teams will live forever in football history as a success story. There was a world where the Chiefs go to 6 Super Bowls with Patrick Mahomes and they only won the first one. And imagine that timeline. It sucks. And I never thought it was terribly likely. But last night was a cementing of legacies. And I just think we're all going to be throughout Kansas City. We just get to ride on that cloud again, not just until the draft, because the draft is here. So we get to puff that cloud up a little bit bigger.
With the 31st pick.
Not as satisfying.
It is not as satisfying as saying,
damn you, Dolphins.
Damn you, Miami.
But we're going to have the draft here in a couple of months. And then it's a whole offseason of defending the title. Guys who are talking in the locker room last night about going back and doing it again. They might have not all have kissed the Lombardi before they were all talking about doing it again. But not in a way that felt like they were looking ahead. Not in a way that it was like, all right, you know what? We're not even buying these t-shirts. No. You should. Everyone should. We know how hard this is. They know how hard this is, which I think makes it, if not sweeter, a different flavor of sweet. And I just think that's absolutely tremendous. And we got a perfect football game for it to happen through. It's a tremendous thing to be in Kansas City right now.
The Chiefs turned the ball over 0 times. They committed 3 penalties for 14 yards. They played phenomenal football. They had to play phenomenal football. And they won by 3. They had to play. Look, the Eagles are a good team. I scoffed at the notion that the feeling was the Eagles are just dominant and they are balanced, but the Chiefs have number 15, so you never know.
Right.
You can't ever count them out. I scoffed at that.
Oversimplification.
But I didn't scoff at the fact that the Eagles are really good.
Absolutely.
And I've never scoffed at the fact that the Bengals are really good. In fact, I said all this year, and I still feel the same way. The Bengals this year are better than the Bengals last year.
Yes.
This Bengals team this year would have been a deserving Super Bowl winner.
Yes.
If they won it, there would have been no fluke. There would have been no, they just found a way to luck their way to a... There would have been none of that if they won. If the Eagles won, it would have been a deserving Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
If the Bills ended up winning, they would have been a deserving champion. There were some good teams this year. Chiefs didn't have to face the Bills, but they took on the Bengals and the Eagles in back-to-back games, and they won by a total of 6 points because they made the plays when they had to make the plays. The offense came through when it had to come through. Special teams came through when it had to come through. Sky Moore's punt return, Kadarius Toney's punt return, game-winning field goals, controversial BS conversations around penalties, when you can and when you can't call a foul, when it should be called or shouldn't be called. Regardless of the whole thing, the conversation around specifically the Bengals was, how do you keep losing by 3? Why can't you win these close games? In the last 2 games, they've won by a total of 6 points, and they have found ways to win those games. And one last point, and we'll break, and we'll take your phone calls. We got a lot of sound to play too. But remember in Philly and early on with the Chiefs, and still some talk about it with Andy Reid, the complaint of how bad Andy Reid was at something. He was awful at clock management. One of the worst we've ever seen. Good coach, but man, he is clueless when it comes to clock management, and the Eagles fans were ready to move on because he didn't know what the hell he was doing in game strategy. And that man in clock management against the Eagles drained all but 11 seconds on offense and exhausted the timeouts from the Eagles and kicked the damn thing right through the uprights for the 38-35 win. Pretty good. Pretty good night. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from the Chiefs and a lot of stuff there in Phoenix. Hear from you, 913-381-810. Get your thoughts and takeaways and reactions from last night. More Zone rolling along right after this.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
You might not be able to tell by the quality of the radio show, but I'm great.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
913-3810810, the phone number. We'll talk with Field Yates coming up at noon. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes already had their Super Bowl winning press conference earlier today, about an hour ago. They were at the podium. Andy Reid, then Roger Goodell, then Patrick Mahomes, then Disneyland now for Patrick.
How good is that?
It's like, have some more parks so I can have a world tour.
Keep making more parks because I might have too many Super Bowls for your small Disneys.
It's great. I mean, I guess there's a Disney World in Europe. You got to go gotta go there, you know. Let's bring in Jerry to the conversation, waiting patiently here to join the show and be a part of it. Jerry, go right ahead. What is on your mind, sir?
Oh, my God. I appreciate you guys so much. You've made this last 2 weeks bearable when ESPN and all those other places wouldn't. They were making it sick. But what was funny, I felt the same thing you felt. Halftime, I could not watch Rihanna. 4 songs popped up randomly. Closer to the Heart by Rush. We'll Stop the Rain by Creedence. And 2 more that just, you know what I mean. It pumped me up where I had hope. Hold On Loosely by 38 Special, and Shot in the Dark by Ozzy. And by the time I got back in to help my brother, he was watching it too, it all felt right. And the weirdest thing was to see Patrick Mahomes point his hand at the end and say holding. You could see him saying it on TV.
Yep.
It's a story about redemption because right over his shoulder was the same guy I called you guys and complained about for months, Carl Shepard, looking like an angel right over his shoulder. If you go back and look at that, you'll be amazed, and you'll know what I was feeling. That was so hilarious. Ironic.
Yeah.
I loved it. And I can handle Josh Brisco bedtime stories every night. He's awesome. So thank you, Josh.
Jerry,
thank you, Jason.
Jerry,
I love you guys.
Jerry, thank you for the phone call and the kind words as well. 3 o'clock in the morning, Josh went on postgame last night.
That's right.
3 o'clock. I thought you wanted to work. I thought you wanted to enjoy it a little bit last night. Only 3 o'clock?
Only 3 o'clock for me and
all-nighter?
Beards. Look,
and then, true story, Josh slept on the floor here.
Really did. I can finally say I slept at the office.
Finally. It's a hard worker. He's one of those guys.
Yeah.
Work my tail off. I'm a company man. I've even slept at the office once.
I'm gonna get so much mileage out of that. Oh, you're
As you
never
should.
gonna hear the end of that one.
No, nobody should hear the end of that. Come on, you slept on the floor, bud.
Lunch bags, not great pillows, but better than nothing.
Did you see the pool reporter with Carl Sheffers?
No, I did. You know what? I didn't.
Yeah. So
shockingly enough.
Yeah. So the question was there discussion about the penalty? Because while the flag was thrown, you guys were talking, and it took a little bit before the announcement was made, which, by the way, I was wondering if they were going to pick up the flag. Mm-hmm. And he said, no, there was no discussion. We talked with them. He said what they had. We looked at the where the down marker was going to be, where they were going to move it to, who the penalty was on, and then we announced it. Said as soon as we found out what we had, there was no discussion about whether or not it was a penalty. He had the pull of the jersey. He had the defender impeding the progress of the receiver, and that's what we go with. So there wasn't because it took a while, right?
Yeah.
Didn't it feel like it felt like a year when it went from there's a flag on the play and Mahomes pointing to when they finally showed Carl Sheffers holding on the defense and they didn't have the camera on them discussing or anything. So it was nice with the pool reporter to say, hey, was there a discussion going on? Because it did feel like it took a while. He said, no, went and talked, and that's what we had. That's what he called. That's what we went with. And it was a penalty, turns out. Back-to-back games that are obvious penalties that apparently should or should not be called at that time. One quick one on that, just to bring this up, because I haven't seen many people talk about this. I've seen people say, the catch, it was uncatchable. Well, pass interference, obviously. But their point being, maybe the other official should have come in and said, it didn't really affect the play. That catch wasn't catch. It was way over his head. Do you call that at that time? Do you let it go, even though Bradbury said it was a hold?
That's the one part that I would want to just keep underlining is that Bradbury and Juju both, obviously Juju's biased, they both went, it was a hold. No doubt.
But here's the part that I do think people are ignoring. When Mahomes threw the ball, it was after the hold, And it was as Bradbury was blanketing Juju. He was then playing legal defense.
This is correct.
Because he was able to impede the progress of Juju, who, by the way, beat him. He was going to run by Bradbury, whose hips were still turning, and Juju was already heading to the end zone, right, in that wheel route. His arm goes across the chest of Juju. Then he grabs the back of the jersey so he can catch up and get into a position to be close enough to guard Juju. So when Mahomes throws the ball, what's going through Mahomes' head at that time? I have to throw it to where either Juju's going to get there or it's incomplete. I can't underthrow this and have it get tipped in the air, and there's a safety over the top there that's running in that direction and an interception. We got to get 3 here no matter what. So if it's longer and incomplete, that's fine. Where does he put the ball if Bradbury doesn't touch Juju? Right on his freaking hands. Nobody's discussing the fact that could have been a touchdown from Mahomes to Juju. And by the way, it would have been better for the Eagles had it actually been a touchdown to Juju. They should be complaining about it being called because it hurt their opportunity to get the ball back down 7. Like, there's no reason to hold at that point, right? Because even if you give up 7, you get the ball back. He admitted it was a hold. He was hoping they would let it slide. But I don't see anybody talking about if Juju then cuts and his progress isn't impeded by the defender that sticks his arm out and stops him and then grabs the jersey twice. There were 2 different things in which Bradbury used his arm to regain defensive positioning after he was beat. That is a foul. That is a penalty. Where does Mahomes put the ball if he drops back, looks over, and Juju has beat his man? He doesn't throw it that deep.
I think you're right.
He can throw it underneath, and then if Juju comes back to get it and jumps, then it might be pass interference on Bradbury at that point. But once it's that far in the end zone, you can't take the chance of throwing it short and that ball being tipped up in the air when the safety is going to be in position. Yeah. I think the greatest player on earth can process that in real time.
I think we have evidence of that.
So it's not being discussed at all.
I think the things that matter there are twofold. I think it's that James Bradbury, after the game, at his locker, said, yeah, it was a hold. I pulled on his jersey. I was hoping they wouldn't catch it. So you can say it's borderline. Tons of calls are. And he didn't say that. He didn't come out there and say, it was really close. I nicked his jersey, but, no, they held him.
I was hoping he would let it slide.
That's right. Within the realm of potentially missable. He didn't grab him by the face mask and pull him to the ground. It was a hold.
So what I did was hold because I was beat and hoping the official would let it slide because it's the Super Bowl and that late. So what he was saying is he was trying to use the officials of you can't throw the flag at that time to his advantage to then gain an advantage on Juju, who beat him.
He was hoping the referees would make a mistake and not call the penalty.
Yeah.
This one's pretty easy, I think.
Yeah.
I really do.
Let's go to Phil, who's waiting patiently to join the show. Then we'll take a timeout. Phil, go right ahead. What is on your mind, sir?
Thanks, guys. You're all on top of it this morning, but just a couple of things. One, we punted in the first half after a third down play where Smith-Schuster was clearly held.
No. That's not. You can't call that at that time, Phil.
It's too early, Phil.
You can't make that holding call at that time. It's too early in the second quarter, so you can't do that.
Secondly, live by the sword, die by the sword. They do the quarterback sneak. They did it at the 40-yard line, and their guy couldn't hold long enough and was offside. That made 3rd and 1, 3rd and 6, and the next play is scoop and score by Nick Bolton.
Which
so they lived and died by that.
By the way, Phil, real quick, noted this as that it was happening. They weren't going to call it until the entire defensive line jumped up and pointed for 3 seconds. Then, reluctantly, the umpire was like, I guess I'll throw the flag and do it. If the defensive line didn't all jump in unison and point down, they don't call that false start. And it's a first down, and who knows what happens in the game. But go ahead, Phil.
All right. The most important call in the game was 24-21. The Chiefs had just gone 10 plays and 75 yards, and Mahomes could walk or run again. And it was very clear that to Philadelphia they weren't going to stop the Chiefs' offense. And what was it, 4th and 4, 4th and 6? They kicked a field goal
4th and
to go
5.
up by 6.
I think it was 4th and 5. Yeah.
I remember in the 80s, Sparky Anderson used to always say, I'm not going to let George Brett beat me. when you kick that field goal, you're letting Mahomes beat you because you're only up a score. You
believe
got to
it.
go up 2 scores. You have to go up 2 scores.
I couldn't believe he did it. I could not. It was 4th and 6. You're right. It was 4th and 6. It was a 5-yard catch on 3rd and 11 with Kenneth Gainwell, and a great play by Nick Bolton to come up, square him up, make the tackle. Because if Gainwell picks up 2 or 3 more yards, and it's 4th and 4 or 4th and 3, they do go for it. I think 4th and 6 is maybe just right outside the range of where Sirianni felt comfortable.
Yeah, but you can't give Mahomes the opportunity to only be down by a score or less. You can't.
I totally agree. I thought Sirianni coached one hell of a game last night, and I think that was a mistake at that time.
That's awesome, guys. Enjoy.
Phil, you too, man.
Good stuff, Phil.
913-381-810. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue so much more about this game, about this team, about this run, and just enjoying it. 38-35, Super Bowl champs. Super Bowl 57 goes to your Kansas City Chiefs. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Nick Bolton, like, no, hated it. I mean, just an awful player. I mean, just nothing about Nick Bolton gets me excited at all. No instincts. Really doesn't hit hard at all. That's the issue I have with him.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Rock chalk. Still the best take. Nick Bolton was awesome last night. Really good. And almost had 2 touchdowns. And guess what? For the tools that are, hey, you're just looking at this through Chiefs-colored glasses. A lot of Bengals fans in my mentions. Yeah,
You gotta fix that, man.
Yeah, well, like one guy I used to work with. Well, I feel good about my take because I'm impartial.
I love that. I got one of those today, too.
There's no such thing as an impartial viewing of the Super Bowl. There's never been an impartial view, especially with gambling today.
No one's actually impartial about anything, man.
Eagles fans, Chiefs fans, Eagles haters, Chiefs haters, gamblers.
We're just trying to do our best.
Chiefs backers, Eagles backers, over, under backers, overtime prop bettors. There's no such thing as an impartial viewing of the Super Bowl. It's absurd. People are kidding themselves. They are twisting themselves like a pretzel. They're contorting their entire minds to try to convince themselves that a clear and legitimate impeding of a player and a pulling of the jersey and the player saying it was a holding penalty somehow was not that.
The impartiality thing's absurd. I understand the surface level of it.
Because that's what the analysis is, a surface
it's
level.
surface level, though. It really is. Because to your point, there's no such thing as pure impartiality. And I kind of like the way that it's trending now in media, where like the Good Morning Football crew is usually wearing T-shirts or jerseys of their favorite teams that they rooted for growing up. Because I still trust them to be good analysts while admitting their biases. I wanted the Chiefs to win because I wanted to go to a parade on Wednesday. Great. I also could analyze how the game's happening. We've been doing that for a while
and
now.
my Super Bowl hoodies.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I wanted the Chiefs to win. I thought the Miles Sanders call was not a catch in the way today's ruling of the catch. I thought Dallas Goedert was a catch.
I kind of wanted Devontae Smith to be a catch, if I'm being honest.
I didn't think Ndamukong Suh had illegal hands to the face. I can think all of those things are true, and the fact that Bradbury held.
Now you're biased.
Biased idiot.
I know, I'm
The
done.
last 2 pandemic years.
This SportsCenter is brought to you by the University of St. Mary. Earn your MBA in as little as 1 year at the University of St. Mary. Join USM for a virtual info session at 6 p.m. on February 23rd. Register at stmary.edu/RSVP. 7 consecutive AFC West championships, 5 consecutive AFC championship games at Arrowhead Stadium, 3 Super Bowl appearances in 4 years, 2 Lombardi trophies, and 1 dynasty in progress for the Kansas City Chiefs as they were victorious last night over the Philadelphia Eagles 38-35. Patrick Mahomes is the NFL's MVP and the Super Bowl MVP after last night's performance, throwing 3 touchdowns, 1 to Travis Kelce, 1 to Sky Moore, and 1 to Kadarius Toney. Isaiah Pacheco also scored along with Nick Bolton on the defensive side. I think we'll talk a little bit more about Super Bowl 57 on the other side here on The Zone. This is SportsCenter.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I went to BYU, so every down's a throwing down. I mean, that's how that goes.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Josh Brisco, Beards, heading up until 2 o'clock. Let's hear from Patrick Mahomes on the post-game of NFL Game Day. Patrick Mahomes talking about his ankle and the offensive line. Let's play clip number 1 here. Ankles and the offensive line for Patrick Mahomes.
It's that competitor. I mean, I think everybody on this table would say it, man. That competitor in you to be in this game, it's what you work for your entire life. I knew I wasn't coming out of this game, and even with that high ankle sprain that kind of re-aggravated a little bit, I'll worry about that in the offseason.
Fourth quarter, game tied, you getting the ball, what's going through your mind?
Yeah, I told Trav right there on the side, I said, let's go do this thing, man. We've been in these moments before, and I mean, I relied on my teammates around me, man. You can't make it all about yourself. You have to rely on those guys that you go to battle with every single week. Those guys responded, man. The offensive line, how they played in the second half, that's the reason we won this game.
Zero sex on that D-line.
Yeah, no, they took
Amazing.
They took it a little personal, man. I mean, they had one of the greatest D-lines of all time, and they have one of the greatest offensive lines of all time, and we respect that, and I give them their kudos. But we believe we have a great offensive line as well, and I think those guys got caught up with getting asked every single week what they were going to do against this defensive line, and they took it as a challenge, and they responded. And we told them early in the week, I said, if y'all play great, we'll win this football game, and they did.
I mean, I'm glad they had faith at halftime. And it's expected that they would have had faith at halftime. Because I did not. Feel stupid. My wife, much smarter than I. It's like, why are you down? Like, it's a whole nother half to play. She's like, they've won these games before. She doesn't even watch football that much. She's like, you need to have more faith. Like, you always talk about how great Mahomes is and find a way to win, but I'm like, look, you don't understand, honey. Okay, they're not really stopping this team, okay, except for the fumble. Mahomes' injury. If he's not going to be able to be mobile, they can't protect him. You got to outscore this team by 11 in the second half that just outscored you by 10. And Mahomes is injured.
And it looks worse than it's looked up until this point.
Yeah, he was in more pain leaving the field than he was, it felt like, at any point. You don't understand, honey. She was right.
She's always right.
You're right.
So annoying.
I'm wrong. I'm dumb. You're smart. I'm ugly. You're beautiful.
Did she make you say all this?
Every morning. It's weird. Every single morning. But,
Hey, let's talk.
But I'm happy.
Oh, okay.
I'm happy.
All right, never mind then.
I'm happy. Let's play clip number 2. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes when talking about retirement and Patrick and hanging out with that coach and whether or not Andy's like, I think I got some thinking to do after this game if we win.
Yeah, I think I worked out a little bit longer on some of those off-season workouts. I feel like we hear that a lot. I mean, we have a great division that we play against, so there's a lot of great players that are always challenging us. I think that's what makes us so good in the playoffs. And so we knew losing Tyreek was going to hurt, but I trusted in Coach Reed's plan, Brett Veach's plan, Clark Hunt's plan, and those key leaders I was talking about that have been on this team for a while. They stepped up and led these young guys, and now we got a lot of young guys that won the Super Bowl for the first time, so how can we keep those guys hungry?
Coach Reed, there's some reports out there that you might retire.
I think I'm going to hang around.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there.
Coach, in the AFC, man, obviously you have your guy, Patrick here. You got Joe Burrow. You have Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, all these young quarterbacks. How do you keep them off your tail after winning another one?
Well, listen, Pat took all the guys, all these new guys. I mean, he's not bragging on himself here. I'm going to do it for him. He took all the new guys and took them down to Texas, and by the time we got them for phase 2 of the offseason, they were already on board and rolling. And so, listen, with that right there, he keeps everybody around him hungry, and you and I like to eat.
That's right.
Hey, when you hear the MVP chants,
Yeah, a lot of MVP chants because, he's the MVP. They found a way to win. And let me also say that, we talked last week, I think, trying to think of all the different people we talked to last week, but a few times I had asked him, all right, so I think it was Mike Golick, that I asked is, he's a defensive lineman. Kurt Warner I asked as well, that the talk about the Eagles' defensive line against the Chiefs' offensive line, how much is protecting Patrick Mahomes the 2 weeks leading up to the game, and how much is it in the game and the execution and the players just simply winning one-on-one? And the obvious answer is both. But Jeff Schwartz, might have been Mitchell Schwartz. I know it was a Schwartz brother.
One of the Schwartzes.
The Schwartz is strong in both of them.
I get that reference.
Pointed out and said, he was like, just going back through the tape real quick, and it was like a quick little charting, not a studying and slowing everything down. He counted 10 different ways the Chiefs blocked Hassan Reddick.
Crazy.
10 different ways. A chip, a tight end, sliding somebody over to him, McKinnon staying in. 10 different ways that they attacked Hassan Reddick throughout the game. There's 53 plays. Not all of them are passing plays. But with the passing plays, 10 different ways they attacked Hassan Reddick to block him. That's what I was meaning when you're protecting Patrick Mahomes. How much is that the 2 weeks leading up to the game? In figuring out a way to game plan and scheme. Those 2 touchdowns to Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, that was game plan. That was prep. That was scheme. They saw clearly when a man goes in motion like that, the Eagles are running and already communicating the handoff.
Have you seen the
hand off to the guy who's going to have him, or just simply following?
Have you seen the Jags plays against the Eagles from earlier this year?
No.
Oh, I gotta find it for you.
Are they the same thing where they stop in their motion and go back the other way?
Bonkers, man! It is straight up lifted. So I think
they ran
Andy
the same
Reid last
play
night
twice on different sides of the field.
He gave credit to that to Eric Bieniemy. And there was also a quote from Eric Bieniemy in The Athletic about the protection also. To your point here, I thought our guys did a hell of a job of keeping Mahomes upright. It was the backs and tight ends chipping. We wanted to make sure that we gave those guys the respect they deserved. Schematically, I thought we just did a great job of taking care of the quarterback.
Yeah.
That is coaching protection there. In addition, the guys on the front line played well.
Yeah.
Their advanced numbers are not 0 sacks allowed because so much of it was what the Chiefs were doing in the motion, in the protections, in the chips, and all the different ways they were accounting for those guys. It's just, we've talked about this plenty of times. You said the phrase organizational win in the first hour, but it's just another one of those on 100 levels.
It's part of being a good coach.
Yep.
Is you're setting your players up for success and not for failure. Just simply saying, Mahomes, shotgun, drop back 5 steps, guys go win. Go win offensive line against those front 4. We're doing what we do. Well, that's dumb. Because you're going to get beat. Having your right tackle, Adeniji, in the AFC Championship game on 3rd down, one-on-one against Chris Jones with no help is stupid. Mm-hmm. It's dumb. We'll just go win. He's not going to. Mm-hmm. It's one of the most dominant players in the league against a backup right tackle. He's not going to win. What did Hassan Reddick do in that game? I mean, I remember him running behind Mahomes when Mahomes had picked up the 26-yard carry. I remember Hassan Reddick doing that and almost tripping because he got tired because they were making him work all game.
I mean, there's like a 50% chance that was just the field.
And so there are two things here that really do matter. Hassan Reddick said last night, and I heard this clip live, and I'm telling everybody, this did not read as sour grapes of any sort to me. But he was like, yeah, there were times when I beat my guy and I put my foot down to try to cut, and I couldn't. That's real. It's
totally
also
real.
The pass rush grades for the Chiefs in the toilet, which I think is related. I think the reason that Frank Clark and George Karlaftis weren't turning the corner, Carlos Dunlap wasn't getting the edge, is because they were basically playing on a slip and slide.
I think there was a couple stretches there in like the third quarter where you could basically just say after every play,
yep.
And then he also slipped and fell on the field.
It was awful, man.
It was a good time.
It was awful.
Really bad.
Big turf, taking some L's.
Yeah, they paid almost $1 million for the new turf. And different kind of grass.
Yeah, I didn't realize. They're basically playing on a putting green, which seemed like a bad idea as soon as I learned about it, but I'm not a grassologist.
So what is it about Arizona then?
Why not just use like normal grass?
Yeah,
just grass.
So game number 1, different grass.
Bad field.
And terrible field.
Uh-huh.
And Butker sprains his ankle, which Jake Elliott almost did the same thing.
Yep, looked exactly the same.
And we didn't see him kick again, so I don't know if it would have affected him or not. That was the last time he kicked the ball.
Yeah, interesting. I thought about
and
that.
so, because that was after the 2-point conversion, right? I think that was after when he slipped and fell. And
I think that's right, yeah.
And so we didn't see him again. Anyway, that was week number 1.
Yep.
And this was a brand new field and still the same thing. I don't know, but it shouldn't happen. Also, you don't need to paint the entire field. Like,
yeah,
that big-ass logo.
Looked neat, but
between the hash marks on both sides of the field plus midfield painted.
Yeah, it was an oil slick.
I mean, you don't need all that. Sometimes less is more.
Also, I am currently watching, I can't believe this is what I'm doing on a Super Bowl Monday, watching a little cut-up of Andrew Wiley highlights. Because for the field's sake and for the chipping that they did, he also was left one-on-one with Hassan Reddick a few times, and he just held up. He just won that rep enough times. And man, for all of the flack that the tackles in particular have gotten, and some of it's been earned this year, no doubt. But to see that offensive line play that good of a game, specifically also, we haven't really talked about the running game at all because Mahomes and all of that, but both of these offensive lines were moving dudes in the running game, but ultimately the Chiefs felt like they were able to go back to that well more often and more successfully than the Eagles ended up being too, especially outside of Jalen Hurts. I mean, Gainwell was 7 for 21, Sanders was 7 for 16, Boston Scott was 3 for 8. That's less than 3 yards a carry for the 3 running backs, and that's with an offensive line that was just putting dudes on sleds for chunks of it.
I know you just answered the phone, Beards, but can we play clip number 24? That's Isaiah Pacheco, and since we haven't talked about the running game, his 15 carries for 76 yards, 5.1 yards per attempt. He was running like a madman. Also credit Gardner Johnson, who came in.
Dude, yeah, that was a lick.
That's the hardest I've seen anybody hit Pacheco.
Yeah.
Pacheco usually is the one that pops right back up. But here's Isaiah Pacheco after the game talking about the rookies and his game and winning a Super Bowl in year number 1.
The two of us as 2 rookies to come in and then dump the Gatorade on Coach Reed. We looked at you and we were like, it's rookie duty today. So we grabbed the Gatorade jug and, we took on the rookie duty, but it was a memorable moment for me and Scott, and I'll ever cherish forever the rest of my life.
Isaiah, you had your first game here in Arizona, and then to finish it off here with a Super Bowl win. How full circle is that for you?
It's for me, I have to soak it all in. Coming here, scoring my first touchdown as a rookie, finishing here with a touchdown as a rookie. I'm just blessed by my brothers. I couldn't do it without them. And day in and day out, we push to get here, and we strive for moments like this, and being accountable to one another. It shows for itself how much we support each other.
What are you gonna do tonight after the win, after the W? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
All the way up.
All the way up. What song you gonna listen to?
DJ Khaled.
Yeah.
We the best.
We the best.
Having some fun, man.
Awesome.
Also, just very quickly, I realized during that thing where they were saying, we went back to full circle, started in Arizona if the season went back. The Chiefs have twice as many wins in Arizona as the Cardinals do this year.
Such a good stat, man.
They've got one win in their home stadium.
Unbelievable.
913-381-0810. Let's go to Kyle next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Kyle, go right ahead. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, Jason, how about those Chiefs? Oh, man. First of all, I talked about this to Josh last night, but Nick Bolton, can we give him money already? Can we just give him a 10-year contract?
Luckily, there's 2 more years. You don't have to worry about it right now.
I know, but just give him a 10-year contract now. I like to keep him here in Kansas City for as long as possible. Just give it to him. Second of all, man, I guess we got. By the way, Josh, I didn't notice about, and Jason, I didn't notice about the logo until you talked about it. But I saw more of the logo on the television than I did the players. It's like in the background, I'm seeing. You don't notice it until someone mentions it, but then I'm like, am I seriously seeing the logo in the background while I'm seeing Mahomes drive down the field? What is this? I mean, gosh dang. Yes, less is more. I don't think you need a big logo for the Super Bowl. I think everybody knows that it's a Super Bowl. I don't think we need to put more oil on the field to add more to the problems that our players are already facing. But anyway, I thought just a really good game all around. I thought the guys, they played special teams, offense, defense, both. And when Harrison Buckner missed that extra point, missed the field goal, I'm thinking, oh no, the momentum's going to go back to the Eagles again. But the reason I think Buckner missed his field goal is his mind is on the field. He does not want to get his ankle hurt again. So I'm not going to give Buckner any crap because that field was terrible, and I can definitely tell Buckner was worried about it. I could definitely tell. But anyway, offensive line, the running game, everybody did good. So, I mean, it was an awesome game. I'm super excited. I haven't slept in a while. I haven't even slept. I've been up since 3 a.m. since Sunday morning because I've just been excited. So, man, it's an awesome time to be a Kansas City fan. I'm going to be wearing my Chiefs gear all week. But thank you guys for taking my call.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate the phone call, Kyle. Yeah, Briscoe's barely slept.
That's true.
So
got a little bit, though. I get it.
I don't.
It's a fun time. It's a fun time to be awake.
I have no argument or anybody feeling bad for me and trying to catch up on sleep from Phoenix because you slept for 10 minutes last night. 913-381-0810.
I'm jet lag though. I really do. I feel good. I feel good, Jason. I don't understand why these people are complaining about needing more rest.
By the way, that's a Coors Light.
I wish it was.
Let's go to Jason next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason, welcome into the show, man. What's on your mind?
Oh, man, just a lot of everything. First of all, you guys got an awesome show. I love it.
Thank you.
Second, how about them Chiefs, man? They played a hell of a game. Couple things I thought last night. First, what a hell of a call for Andy Reid to call a fullback stretch on that 3rd and, what was it, I believe 3? What guts to call that in a Super Bowl like that? It's not something you really see anymore. Nobody uses the fullback.
It was 3rd and 1.
I got 3rd and 1 there.
And that was McKinnon.
Right? As the fullback, with Sky Moore was the deep back. It was wild. It was crazy. I don't think we've seen them run that formation before.
The 2 short yardage 3rd and 1s that they came through with at the end was Jerick McKinnon with that play for 15 yards.
With Sky Moore behind him.
And then Isaiah Pacheco around the edge, which, by the way,
with Mike Burton on the field.
That was a clinic in blocking.
Oh.
That was an absolute clinic in blocking, and you leave the guy one-on-one with a safety. You win, it's a touchdown. Either way, it's a first down, so you've taken care of job number 1 is to pick up the first down. And it was a great play by the safety, come in and make the tackle. That happens. They get paid too. But a great play call and also great execution by the offensive line. So both 3rd and 1s late that were big deals. Chiefs are one of the worst teams in 3rd and short in the NFL, and they came through with a 15-yard run and an 8-yard run in those situations.
Oh, yeah. And as you guys have already mentioned multiple times, the offensive line. We come in to play one of the best defensive lines in football, and they don't allow a single sack all game long.
Yeah.
Andrew Wiley held up amazing against Hassan Reddick over there. You just can't ask for a better game from them 5 guys. They took everything everybody gave them all week long about, oh, you guys aren't going to be good. You guys have to deal with this. You guys are going to get sacked all game. And they just took it to heart and said, okay, we're just going to sit here and manhandle these guys all game long. They're not going to touch Mahomes. Mm-hmm. The only way he's getting hit is if it's in the secondary or by a linebacker as he's past the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I mean, it was Jason, I appreciate the phone call. It was, I mean, we talked about it and discussed it. Like, 1, the execution was there by the offensive line, and 2, the scheme, the game plan, all of that Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, Matt Nagy, Andy Heck, that they put together in being able to protect Patrick Mahomes. And it came through. In the second half, they were 4 for 4 on their offensive drives. And they had to be 4 for 4 on their offensive drives. Let's go to the phone lines, and we bring in Sonny next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sonny, go right ahead. What's on your mind?
What's up, fellas? Oh, man, I'm feeling spectacular today.
We all are, man.
Yeah, brother. So I got 2 things here. One, listen, I know everybody's giving the flowers to everybody on this team, but I want to give the flowers to Brett Veach. Because when John Dorsey left and, this town was up in arms about it, and, I was sitting there thinking, oh, no, Andy Reid's playing a power move. And, his last year as a Philly, he did the same thing. He got rid of the GM. He was taking over, who was getting on the roster and who wasn't. And then Veach with his first draft with Breland Speaks, and the next year you take McCole Hardman when DK was on the board. I was one of his biggest critics. But for what he's done in putting this roster together and re-signing players, I could spend all show long talking about it. But I just want to make sure everybody out there, it's going to Mahomes, it's going to Andy Reid, it's going to Travis Kelce. Make sure you put Brett Veach in there. Put that respect on Brett Veach's name too, man, because he's been a draft wizard, he's been a signing wizard. He's just been great these past couple off seasons. So I'm enjoying today. I'm in the moment, Super Bowl win, but I'm definitely looking forward to the off season. Looking forward to the draft, what he's going to do with Juju, Chris Jones, so on and so forth. And then the second thing I got before I jump off of here, I had the weirdest thing happen to me, fellas. For 2 weeks since the championship games, I've had emails, texts, phone calls, FaceTimes of go Birds, go Philly, all from my family, my dad, my sister. As I tagged you guys on Twitter, I had a box shipped to my house.
Oh,
green
yeah.
box. It said "Go Birds" on it. I opened it up. It was a glitter bomb. So I have green and black
work.
Eagles glitter on my dog, on my couch.
They deserved it.
But the weirdest thing happened. After the game was over, I couldn't get a hold of nobody.
Crazy.
No one answered the phone.
Are they
out there.
okay?
So, yeah, I
Actually,
hope
they
so.
may not be. I mean,
so.
that's actually a good question.
But I just wanted to let them know that when I go back home to Philly this summer to go to my sister's graduation, that I will be getting off the plane like I've been doing for the past 10 years with my Chiefs jersey and my Chiefs hat. And I don't care that I'm in Eagles country. I'm rocking it, man. So Super Bowl champions, baby. You guys keep rocking, and I'll be here with you guys all day.
Sonny, you're the man. Appreciate it, sir. It's great.
I respected the hustle of the glitter bomb interfamilial trash talk. That was really good stuff.
I mean, the people in Philadelphia flipping over cars and breaking stuff.
They were doing that
before the game.
Yeah.
Before the game.
Then they were doing it afterwards, but for other reasons.
Then the police started saying there was calling it an actual riot that was going on there around the city. They handled it well. The guy on NBC in Philadelphia handled it well.
Yeah, he sure did. Kept his composure.
He was perfectly fine.
I want to thank Kansas City for being the borderline perfect amount of lunatic. We're crazy, and specifically around sports stuff, but crazy in the way that we're gonna fill out Union Station, and not crazy in the way that I'm afraid to park my car down there. I think my car will still be on its 4 tires when I get back.
So we'll take a time out with this. We're talking about people sort of losing their minds. we're leaving last night from my nephew's house, and as we walk outside and we're walking to the car, we hear a siren off in the distance, right? Siren. And my son goes, "Uh-oh, there's the cops. I bet a Chiefs fan took it too far." I just lost it, man.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Where's the smoking a joint standing on a horse capital of the world? Oh, that's Kansas City.
Right here. Midwest, baby.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Heading up until 2 o'clock, we'll talk with Field Yates coming up at noon. Mick Shaffer, who is in Phoenix, heading back from last night's game, last week's coverage, festivities after the game as well. 913-810-810. You know, Sonny, the most recent caller in the previous segment, talked about giving the flowers to Brett Veach. And we went to break, but I wanted to point this out. We talked about this in the first hour, and I think it's something we'll continue to discuss and point out, because what makes a dynasty? Well, what can make a dynasty? A couple things. A group of players that stay together and continue to win, like we see like with the Warriors, the Splash Brothers, and other people coming in and out, and you win some championships, and you stay atop the league. Or it can be continuing to turn over the roster, but still being successful and winning championships. And giving Brett Veach his flowers, the roster turnover, the 53-man roster in the 2020 Super Bowl, 2019 season, and the 53-man roster for last night's game, there were 11 players that were on both. 42 of the 53 players on last night's 53-man roster were different than when they won the Super Bowl 3 years ago. 5 starters in the 2019 season against the 49ers in the Super Bowl started last night's game. 3 years later, 5 of 22. He changed out 17 starters in 3 years while paying the quarterback almost $40 million against the cap. It is the largest percentage of a cap hit of any quarterback in Super Bowl history, and they won. And they won because they had depth across the board. Not just Mahomes was amazing and they were top heavy, and 1 through 3 was really good, and they have the best quarterback that maybe ever lived talent-wise, and maybe when it's all said and done will be viewed that even in success and accolades and accomplishments, the best tight end that's ever lived, and one of the most dominant defensive players in the game. It's not just top 3 and then everybody else. It's a balanced, deep, younger team. Mm-hmm. And it's Brett Veach. It's the front office. It's the scouts, player personnel, coaches. And then they make a trade for Kadarius Toney in the middle of the season. And he does that on the biggest stage at that moment.
It's also a growth for Brett Veach, because when we were talking about it, trading up for Breland Speaks, and then look, that McCole Hardman pick was fine, but there was a home run right after in DK Metcalf. Mm-hmm. He hit a double there, and there was a home run to be had, so that gets kind of held against him. I get it. And then they drafted a running back in the first round who was a healthy scratch in the Super Bowl. I'm not trying to. Clyde seems like a great teammate. He was hyped in the locker room. No issues with him. That's a bad pick. Skip ahead to what we learned just a little bit ago about the Tyreek Hill trade, where the Jets offered the 10th overall pick, and Brett Veach said, no, we're going to hear what Miami has because we want more capital. Because I don't want to be the guy who traded Randy Moss for whoever they traded Randy Moss for. I can't even remember that guy's name. We have seen an evolution there from Brett Veach. They did move up to go get Trent McDuffie, but then they moved back again. Remember, they had too many picks. They couldn't even use. They had more picks than they know what to do with. They can't fit all these guys on their roster. Yes, they can. They traded up for Trent McDuffie, traded back, and still got Sky Moore. That sort of movement and that philosophy of no, let's bulk up our depth chart, and also let's get more bites at the apple with more of these picks. And then it is just win after win after win after win all the way down this last year's draft class.
Who was it Pacheco or Watson that was the 7th round pick they got for trading Yasir Durant?
Great question. I don't know.
It's one of the two.
Watson, Pacheco, and Najee Johnson were the 3 7ths in that order.
It wasn't Najee Johnson. It was either Pacheco or Jalen Watson, the 7th round pick that they got by trading Yasir Durant. Think about that.
That's a great point, man.
You traded Yasir Durant. What was he going to do on this team? I know what Jalen Watson and Isaiah Pacheco did. So one of those two. I know what they did.
I'm just guessing right now that it might have been Pacheco just based off, or it might have been Watson based off where everybody finished in the standings.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, regardless, yes. So he was the Jalen Watson pick.
Jalen Watson was from Houston?
Was actually from,
or maybe it wasn't.
It was from
Houston.
New England.
Okay.
But it got moved once, but then in August 2021, the Patriots sent it a 2022 7th-round pick.
Yep.
Sent to the Chiefs for Yasir Durant.
Jalen Watson for Yasir Durant.
Worked out.
Got an extra 7th-rounder.
And they were patient at the running back position, too. They could have taken a shot with, 8 picks before they took Pacheco? And they just said, nope, there's going to be a 1,000-yard rusher back here. We're going to find a guy who we like, who's got some good traits. We're going to develop him. And Pacheco, if you include regular season and postseason rushing, broke 1,000 yards on the season.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
He did it last night. He broke 1,000 yards last night.
Wow. And he'll be 1,000-yard, if healthy, he'll be 1,000-yard rusher next year. He's the Chiefs running back for the next 3 years.
We don't have to do all this right now, but Isaiah Pacheco just getting more and more. Look, guys, I think we might be on that Kareem Hunt track of what he could do in this offense because they started trusting him to catch the ball more. He's violent in pass pro. 251st overall pick. Thank you.
I'm just glad on Thursday I went on VSiN and they asked me, what's the impact of Clyde Edwards-Helaire is now active, so what's the impact he's going to have in this game? And I said, I don't expect him to be active.
Wow, look at you.
I said, I think he'll probably be a healthy scratch on Sunday. So I did appreciate when that happened. I get the shout-out from the host of that show. It was like, well, kudos to Jason that called it on Thursday that said Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he expected to be a healthy inactive. Why switch things up?
And
just keep it going the same you've been doing it. Sorry, Clyde. I mean, it sucks, but it's life in the NFL, man.
This is something we talked about some last night on postgame that I just think is cool. Because there are always going to be guys who don't have as big of a role or do have a big role and didn't expect it throughout the course of a season.
Mm-hmm.
But you know who's getting a ring and deserves it? Matthew Wright. Because he came in here and made some kicks when Harrison Butker couldn't. He's getting a ring. Josh Gordon's getting another ring.
Is
Or I
Amendola?
guess his first ring. Matt Amendola will get a ring and might not necessarily deserve it as much. But
Is Josh Gordon getting a ring?
Josh Gordon will get a ring.
Even though he was talking bleep on the wide receivers last night?
Yes, he was tweeting about the receivers, and he's going to get a ring.
Bums.
Chris Lamons is going to get a ring, despite the fact that he's currently technically a Cincinnati Bengal.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about it. From Josh Gordon to Matt Wright to Matt Amendola to every one of those dudes, all the way to Patrick Mahomes. Their rings are the same size, not, around their finger, but in terms of diamonds. And they all deserve that because the stuff that goes on in practice, the day in, day out, Melvin Gordon is a champion.
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon was side-eyeing Russell Wilson early in the regular season, and last night he was smoking a cigar holding up a Lombardi trophy. And good. They all deserve that because they've all been there as a part of whatever it is. What's going on in the meeting rooms, the practice field, the scout team. We don't see any of that. And it's just yet another reason that I just think it's the best sport in the world.
Let's go back to the phone lines, and we bring in Double J here to the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB, the Zone on a championship Super Bowl victory Monday. Double J, go right ahead. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for taking the call. Love the show. It's a great show to listen to.
Well, thank you for being a part of it, bud.
Oh, absolutely. Just wanted to say, go Chiefs. What a game last night. I was down at Power Night. We got down there about 10 in the morning, and it just was a great day, beautiful day in Kansas City. Kind of felt like Arizona weather. And
yeah, it did have that.
Got that Lombardi trophy back home. 2 on Patrick Mahomes. What a gutty performance last night by him. Ice in his veins, especially in that second half after injuring that ankle and towards the end of the first half. It was scary moment, but that guy's a stud. That's why he's the MVP, and people just need to quit doubting him and saying, Joe Burrow is going to be the next Stone, or the Broncos or the Chargers are going to win the AFC West. I'm tired of all that because AFC goes to the Chiefs. Let's go. Awesome time to be in Kansas City. Take care, guys. Thanks.
Double J, appreciate the phone call. I haven't even pointed out that after the ankle injury by Patrick Mahomes, Second half, Patrick Mahomes was 13 of 14 for 93 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 33 yards rushing, and a 133.9 quarterback rating in the second half when his team was down 10 and he re-aggravated the injury. In the postseason, Patrick Mahomes, in the postseason after the ankle injury, from the second his ankle was twisted and the season felt like it might have been over, from that point forward, Patrick Mahomes was 62 of 88. That is 70.4%. 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, and let me see the yards. 626 yards, 52 yards rushing, a
52 yards rushing since the ankle. Okay, sorry.
A 113.2 quarterback rating after the ankle injury in the playoffs against the Jags defense that had a lot of, first-round draft picks and talent, against the Bengals defense, and against the Eagles defense. 70.4%, 626 yards, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 113.2 quarterback rating after he hurt his ankle. Let's go to Ryan next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Ryan, what's on your mind, man? Go right ahead.
Hey, thanks, guys. Gentlemen, love the show.
Thank you for being a part of it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about the Pacheco, that 3rd and 1 run, he gets outside, he's one-on-one with Burns. I think that tackle might be the biggest play of the game. Because let's say he gets down and scores. That was right about the 2-minute warning.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I can't remember exact time on it. He scores. We're up 7 with that little time to go. If the Eagles go down and score, Sirianni's going to go for 2.
There was 2 minutes and 55 seconds to go when the Chiefs took the next snap after the Pacheco run.
Yes, and they might not see the ball again. He goes down and scores. And when I'm watching that replay, I see him outside one-on-one, and I see that tackle, and I think to myself, you know what? That might actually have been the best thing for us.
Yeah. I mean, at the time, I mean, knowing it now, hindsight, but at the time, I'm like, oh, he almost broke that because, they're at the 47-yard line. They're not in field goal range yet, right? There's still 3 minutes to go in the game. The Eagles still have 2 timeouts. I'm thinking there's still a decent chance they get the ball back. Also, who knows if the Chiefs even get into field goal range, and even if they do, is Butker going to knock it through because that extra point was very nerve-wracking as it slid right inside the upright. But you're right. Looking back now, being tackled there and being tackled in bounds, not being tackled out of bounds, because that saved 40 seconds. 40 seconds because they took the snap with 3:37 and they snapped the ball the next time with 2:55. It's 42 seconds later.
Yeah.
So you're talking about it saved 30 seconds if he goes out of bounds.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I thought that was a big play, and you guys were just bringing it up. I was like, I got to call it.
No, Ryan, I appreciate it. It's a great point.
Yeah. Lastly, I just want to gush over Mahomes just real quick.
Yep.
So.
No.
Take your time, man.
No.
Take your time.
Ryan, the stage is yours.
So, every comparison with him right now is R.I.D., Brady, Mahomes, Manning, Breeze, the Mount Rushmore, Montana, the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacking, of players that have ever played in the NFL. And he's on, those are his comparisons right now. He's on that list about half the time that every other quarterback has made that list. Look at the years for 2 regular season MVPs, 2 Super Bowls. He got there in 6. The closest one is 11 at Brady, years in the league. You guys could talk and gush about Mahomes. I will never get sick of it, man. So I know you guys want to take a lot of calls today. I love your show. Appreciate the time, gentlemen.
Ryan, thank you for being a part of the show as well, man. 913-381-810-810. 5 years as a starter. 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 regular season MVPs, 3 Super Bowl appearances, 5 AFC championship games, 5 AFC West championships, 5 Pro Bowls, 3 first-team All-Pros, NFL Offensive Player of the Year, 12 or more wins every single year, 2 times passing touchdown leader in the NFL, and he's also had 1 time leading the NFL in passing yards, which was this year, in which he became the first quarterback in NFL history to lead the league in passing yards and win the Super Bowl that year. Previous quarterbacks were 0-6 that played in a Super Bowl after leading the league in passing yards.
Well, they were just a bunch of scrubs.
And 6. Yeah, it was like Kurt Warner and Rich Gannon and Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Ugh, gross.
I'll just ask the question we're all thinking.
Yeah.
How much help does Mahomes need? I mean, honestly, win a real ring.
I agree. All those rookies. I mean, you got what they had.
So much talent around him.
10 first-round draft picks.
How many rings did Juju and MVS and Justin Watson have before they ever got Kadarius Toney before they even got to town? I mean, it's honestly embarrassing.
Dunlap. Every of the rings.
Got a ringer.
Also, 4 playoff comebacks when trailing by double digits. The all-time leader is Tom Brady with 6. Mahomes has 4 already. Storyteller, what's going on, man?
How you doing?
Very good, man. What's on your mind?
Always a pleasure. I want to thank A10 and you guys for helping us with the season, making it more enjoyable and fun.
Thank you. Do what we can. We had just as much fun as everybody else did.
That's true.
I have an observation and 2 quotes for you.
Yep.
The observation is that Hurts was the MOP, the most outstanding player. In fact, at one time he seemed like he was a one-man team. But one-man teams don't win. So that's why Mahomes is the most valuable player. And I got 2 quotes for you. One is when Bradbury tackled held Smith-Schuster. Remind me of an old Bugs Bunny quote. Swing your partner, Dusty Doe, hit him in the mouth and step on their toes. And basically, that's how a quarterback play. Anyway. And the second quote is by, I think it was Mike Schmidt, who said that Philly fans jump out of the room booing. So I'm sure that Dak Prescott was pleased last night when they were booing him.
Storyteller, appreciate the phone call, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I do love that quote. I do love that quote. We'll take a time out. We'll come back, wrap up this hour. We'll talk with Field Yates coming up at noon, Mick Shaffer, and continue to hear from the Chiefs from last night, Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl 57. We continue more Zone next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Rest your mind, enjoy some time with the family, get that groin ready to go.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll talk with Field Yates coming up on the other side of the break. Fun show so far. Shocking. One thing we also aren't talking about with the Eagles is that the last two games for the Chiefs, knocking off the Bengals and knocking off the Eagles, when they both had rookie contract quarterbacks, both quarterbacks are probably going to get mega bucks this offseason. Hurts has 1 year left on his 4-year deal. Remember, second rounder. No fifth-year option. This is the summer that Burrow and Herbert are going to get paid. Jalen Hurts going to get paid. That means those three teams have 2 years in the salary cap before they start paying their quarterback $40-some-odd million. Field Yates next.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Jason loves talking. I don't know about you, but Jason is a fan of Jason's show.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Victory Monday for the Chiefs. Super Bowl 57 champions, 38-35 in a classic game. Joining us now from ESPN, our NFL insider all year, Field Yates is our guest. Field, how are you, sir?
Jason, I am well, my friend. It's so great to catch up, and it has been an incredible run of, probably 24 appearances that we've done this so far this season, and I believe we started this. I believe this is our fourth year.
It is our fourth year.
In 500 in terms of Super Bowl wins as we started our weekly chats during the season. So as long as you're on board, I am on board as well to keep this rolling.
Absolutely. We bring Field Yates onto the show, and then the Chiefs are, 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. They win 2 of them. So obviously there is only one connection. It's Field Yates on the show. It's the only connection.
Mahomes, come on.
I mean,
that guy's replaceable, isn't he? Everybody's down on Mahomes.
Anybody can do what he does, but how many people bring on Field Yates as their NFL insider and then, 3 out of 4 Super Bowls? What is your reaction from the game last night, Field, with the Chiefs getting the victory 38-35, an entertaining game, a stressful game for Chiefs fans, but what was your reaction?
Yeah, so there are obviously a million ways to go when you're reacting to the biggest game of the season, and we can give all the praise to Patrick Mahomes that he so justifiably deserves. And I think you probably have and probably will continue to do so on your show today and for the rest of the week, rest of the month, the entire off season. So not that I don't agree with all of that, but only because I'm sure it will be covered in greater depth than the topic that I wanted to bring up. I want to talk about the offensive line because I thought it was the defining story of last night. There were a lot of things that were discussed ad nauseum in the Super Bowl lead-up. One of them was just that the Chiefs are going to have to find a way to slow down that Eagles defensive line. And everybody knows there were 0 sacks of Patrick Mahomes. He was pressured, a total of 11 times, according to ESPN's pressure data. Remember, in the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers, that number was 29 pressures. The Eagles basically were unable to generate any kind of heat on Patrick Mahomes. And the offensive line, I thought, was, along with Patrick, the co-MVP of the game. A remarkable performance, and 4 guys that I think the world knows are really good players, left to right, Orlando Brown, Joe Thuney, and certainly Creed Humphrey and also Trey Smith. But I thought that Andrew Wiley, you talk about an unsung hero in the Super Bowl, certainly he deserves some praise because without a 5-man unit, that game is not the way that it was. That offensive line was just awesome.
Yeah, you can't give it to an entire unit. Like, one person has to be MVP, but if somebody, if they said, we're giving the MVP to the offensive line, I think they were absolutely deserving of being the MVP. Certainly Mahomes with the numbers and what he did with that offensive line, but they were great. Jeff Schwartz pointed this out this morning, and it's, to your point in talking about what the offensive line did. And I had discussed last week, Field, of how much of the Chiefs beating the Eagles front happens the 2 weeks leading up to it in scheme and game plan, and how much is it, you got to win one-on-ones. There's execution that goes along with that. Like, it's a combination of the two. But Jeff Schwartz tweeted this out and said, in the first 2 drives of the game, as he was going through and charting this morning, in the first 2 drives of the game for the Chiefs, they gave Hassan Reddick 10 different looks in the first 2 drives alone. That's the 2 weeks leading up to the game, right? And how you slow down that pass rush and try to get the best out of your offensive line against a really good defensive line and put your players in the best position to succeed.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's and Jeff obviously knows more about offensive line than I will ever know, so I take his insight on it much more seriously than most. And I will say that. So I'll be honest, I haven't studied the first 2 drives and the looks they gave to Hassan Reddick, so I can't speak to that part of it. But what I learned is that we do this every year, right? Which is after the Super Bowl, we immediately say, what did that team do that other teams do as well? And oftentimes it proves fleeting, right? I mean, last year the Rams One, in part because they had all these high-paid players who some of them were basically rentals, and we said, oh, you got to go basically big game hunting to win a championship. Well, the Chiefs' second or third most visible player, I think probably third, and Tyreek Hill was traded away this offseason, and instead they have a better offense than last year and several important statistics, and they win the Super Bowl. And so what I keep coming back to is that I think the common thread that we have seen the most, and not necessarily every year, but the most over the past 10 or so years, and probably longer than that, to be honest, Jason, and it applies to both Super Bowl winners and Super Bowl runner-ups. Offensive line to get the job done. Obviously, a quarterback is the straw that stirs the drink, and when you have a Mahomes, you have a chance. But the reality is that how many great quarterbacks are there around the NFL right now? The answer is a lot of them, right? I mean, talking about just the young quarterbacks in the AFC. It's Mahomes and Allen and Burrow and Jackson and Lawrence and Watson, all these talented guys, Herbert. But the offensive line, it can be something that can sort of reshape the ceiling of your roster. And so a couple of years ago, the Chiefs hit rock bottom with their offensive line on the NFL's biggest stage. They worked their tails off to get it right. And some of those investments were obvious major ones, like trading for Orlando Brown Jr. and giving Joe Thuney at that time a record-setting guard contract. But the draft class just continues to show up throughout the past couple of years. And Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith are guys who are going to cost the Chiefs, at least in the first 3 years of their deal, pennies on the dollar compared to what normal players of that caliber are costing them. So if I'm a team right now that's looking at the Chiefs and saying, hey, what can I do that they have done? Don't go find the Patrick. Don't go chasing a ghost, right? They don't grow Patrick Mahomes on trees. He's one of a kind, right? But I do think you can go and try to invest your resources as much as you can into the offensive line, because there's some proof positive that a good offensive line can take you a long way and neutralize even the dominant defensive front like the Eagles are.
Field Yates is our guest. I've talked about it a couple of times and tweeted it out that from 2019 to last night, there's 5 new offensive linemen starters from that win against the 49ers in Miami. But overall, when we talk about the front office and Brett Veach and having a few star players but having to continue to turn over your roster, of the 53-man roster in 2019 and the 53-man roster last night, Field, 42 of the 53 are different players.
I thought it was 45. Your number is better than mine, yeah.
And 5 starters from the 2019 game started last night's game. In a matter of 2 off seasons, you had that game in 2020, 1 year losing the Super Bowl, the next year losing in the AFC Championship game. The day after that, or the year after that, you've got 17 new starters in that game, and you're paying Patrick Mahomes almost $40 million. Organizationally, top to bottom, the health of the Chiefs right now is as good as it's been for a while, and they're paying that quarterback all that money.
No question about it. It was one of the reasons why I was stunned that the Chiefs did not have a single candidate interviewed for the GM openings this offseason. So if you're out there, if you're an owner listening right now, and you're ready to potentially move on from your GM next offseason, like maybe examine the team that's got the best roster in the NFL and has crushed the drafts recently, and Brett Veach's staff, right? I mean, the work that they have done has been transformational, and the value of the 2021, 2022 draft classes cannot be overstated. I mean, you have these guys that are making, the cost control nature changes everything, and the Chiefs, as we've talked about, I know that I believe Brant Tillis and Brett Veach were quoted, maybe even Mike Borgonzi as well, were quoted in the interview with Albert Breer of SI.com recently about how when they were examining potential Tyreek Hill trades, one of the feelings they had was, do we want to kind of diversify our portfolio with a ton of picks, or are we looking to just get one premium pick? And maybe there is some value in that 6-pick approach. And the only thing I will say, though, is draft picks are great, but you got to hit them, right?
Yep, absolutely.
They hit them, and they have consistently hit them over the past couple of years. And one thing I always find ridiculous is when people hold one pick or a few moves against a team, because you just go through every roster and every team's had some significant whiffs. It's just the way things work in football scouting. But if your batting average is in the top third of the NFL and you've got a quarterback as good as Patrick Mahomes, the sustainability model is going to be there. There's no two ways about that.
Yeah, strategy versus execution, those are two completely different things. And strategy to make the trade and get the picks is one thing. Execution of taking advantage of those picks is completely different. And it looks like they have nailed both. Field Yates is our guest. All right, so back-to-back games for the Chiefs. We talk about what is and is not a penalty. Whether you're on in Kansas City or not, I just want to know your honest opinion. Like, what did you think of the call late in the game? Should it be called then? Was it egregious enough to make the call at that position at that time? What's your takeaway and view on what has been a very talked about play?
Yeah, I'd say, and it will be for a long time. Is I have a lot of thoughts. One is that, like, by the letter of the law, it looks like it was a hold, right? I also think that by the letter of the law, there are a lot of plays that can be called that are not during the course of a game. But I would say the issue that I think a lot of people are objecting to, more so than whether by the letter of the law it was a penalty or not, is just that throughout the game there was this sort of let them play feel to it, right? And then on what ended up being the most critical play of the game, a penalty that it's not, it wasn't on the scale as much as a scale actually exists in penalties, was not near the top of it. So I thought it probably would have been one that if they had kept the flag in the pocket, I would have understood it. But I also think that the game is not decided merely upon that one play. And, the Eagles talked about that after the game as well. I give Philadelphia a ton of credit. I mean, obviously emotions are riding high, win or lose in the Super Bowl, and they basically just said, like, that wasn't one play. As a matter of fact, James Bradbury owned up to it, right? There was some real culture showed by Philadelphia last night. It's a critical play, though, but, it's you go back to the course of time, the NFC Championship game a few years ago when Nickel Roby-Coleman basically, sort of like tackles a Saints receiver, and that one's not called. There are plenty of examples where we look back on one play, but it's never just about one play. There are a lot of things that the Eagles could have done differently that would have changed the outcome of the game. And conversely, if the Chiefs, if that play had not been called and the Chiefs settled for a field goal and they ended up either going to overtime or losing the game in regulation, we wouldn't just say, well, it should have been that one play. There are plenty of ways in which 38-35 game could have been decided. So I understand the frustration, and I thought as a fan there is reason to feel like the NFL needs to be a little bit more refined with its officiating. But I also concede that I also know that, like, no play is decided on just one play out of the course of 120 or so.
Field Yates from ESPN is our guest. Now that they have won 2 Super Bowls in 4 years, given the 5 straight AFC championships and 7 division titles and 3 Super Bowls, is this a dynasty for the Chiefs?
Yeah, it's such a hard one to answer because I don't, it's something of a subjective answer.
Absolutely.
I think that what I'm going to fall back on is this: is for one reason or another, 3 feels like the number that makes you dynastic, and I'm talking about 3 in the course of, let's call it, like 7 or so years, right? Like, I think 3 in 15 years is different than 3 in 7 years, obviously.
Right.
But I am grateful that I'm not required to have that conversation as frequently as some people. But there are shows in our world that thrive off of such debate type measures, and it's not where most of my real estate is at ESPN or outside of ESPN. And I think that Patrick answered it well last night, and I'm kind of going to leave it there. I think someone asked him, like, it might have been Chris Berman who asked him on our ESPN set. It might have been just at his post-game press conference. And he just said, something, it's not done yet, so we'll find out, right? And so I think I'm going to try to preserve the oxygen I'll one day need to have that conversation appropriately until this is all said and done, right? If that's 10 years from now or 12 years from now or 7 years from now, then I'll start to think more critically about it. But for now, I just know that the Chiefs have done it twice in 4 years, a remarkable achievement with the best player, a Hall of Fame coach, and a team that I think has really revealed its character over the course of this year.
What does this do for Andy Reid now, getting Super Bowl number 2 on his resume and legacy in the NFL, history of coaches?
Yeah, I would say that there is, everybody's got a different opinion on this. I think 6 probably speaks for itself, in my opinion. Belichick has the most accomplished resume. I think it's going to take a lot. It's going to take closer to that number. Maybe it's 5, maybe it's 4, but certainly 6, and we can have that conversation fairly. But I think this changed. I think that Andy Reid has established himself as one of the greatest to ever do it. And again, I know this is like the worst sort of take for someone who, again, the industry that we are in, right?
That's
And
all
so
good.
often if someone wakes up this morning and says Andy Reid is the greatest coach of his generation, I don't know. I don't know exactly where Andy Reid ranks. I just know that, for me, the criteria is, are you a Hall of Famer or are you not? And to me, not that there was much debate prior to this game, but it only further cements that Andy Reid will one day be in Canton, Ohio, and that the Chiefs are extremely fortunate to have him at the control panels of their franchise.
All right, Field, last one for you. Who wins the Super Bowl next year?
Wow, where to think about that?
Yep. You nailed it last year. I went back and looked, and you said the Chiefs win it, even though the Rams played the Bengals. You picked the Chiefs, so you got that one right. Not saying you have to pick the Chiefs, but just a team looking ahead.
No, I think it's they're the favorites for a reason. They're my answer, and I actually feel like a little more emboldened this year than I did last year because if you look at the pieces they're going to have to replace this offseason, and I know that obviously there's so many things that can change, but as I look at the Chiefs coming up this offseason, like they're not one of those teams, the Buccaneers or the Saints or even the Eagles to a degree, who are like maybe not the Eagles as much, but at least the Bucs and the Saints and the Chargers, who have like significant cap machinations they're going to have to endeavor upon in the next 3 or 4 weeks, right? So I think the Chiefs are set up for potentially running it back. The pressure is just that it hasn't been done in 20 years now or 19 years now. It does feel like the AFC be better. That being said, it's if I were to sort of play the law of averages, it suggests to me that when you have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback and the infrastructure around him, that's going to be my threshold of why I picked them to be to be repeat champions next year.
We'll see what ends up happening. Field Yates from ESPN. Field, you're the man. I have had a blast this year talking with you and all different things NFL week by week. So thank you for the season and the conversation, and already looking forward to starting up next year.
Amen, my friend. I look forward to it. Only 206 days until the NFL regular season begins. What we don't know is who the Chiefs will be hosting on that Thursday night, but if I can offer up one or two options, I certainly would not hate to see them play the Cincinnati Bengals next year or the Buffalo Bills on Thursday Night Football week 1.
I would take it. Don't they play the Eagles at home next year, right? So do you get a rematch on Thursday night?
That would be good.
Yeah, so Eagles at home game, so maybe you do get a rematch. That would hurt for the Eagles when they raise that banner there on Thursday for the Eagles to be there for that. Maybe they won't do that. Maybe the NFL will be like, all right, Philly, that might hurt. Field, you're the man. Really appreciate the time, sir. As always, look forward to next year, man.
All right, take care, my friend. Talk to you soon.
Absolutely. There's Field Yates from ESPN, our NFL insider. And you know what? People have talked about it a couple times, and we haven't mentioned it on the show. It's been mentioned a number of times, maybe on different shows and stuff and on Twitter. But the point about at the beginning of the 2020 season, with COVID going on and the raising of the banner and the limited amount of fans that were in there, and then them having sort of like another party for like the rings and then the banner sort of going up.
I remember live streaming the ring ceremony because there's nobody there.
There's nobody there, as opposed to season ticket holders that have been season ticket holders for a long time that missed out on the opportunity at the beginning of the 2020 season to see that banner go up, that the Thursday night this year will have every single seat filled and standing room only to raise the flag that night for a championship and really do it right, do it big in announcing and celebrating the reigning Super Bowl champions.
It'll be up to the NFL, so I do think Bills and Eagles are both great options. The Chargers would be fun. There are a lot of ways they could do it.
Well, Chargers will be the favorite, so you want to
exactly make sure that the Chiefs beat the best, before you crown them.
To be the best, you got to beat the best. So let's start off with the Chargers. That's the way to do it.
But if the Chiefs were able to pick their opponent, they would love to raise a banner in front of the Cincinnati Bengals. That's who they would love to have on the other sideline. I mean, that's the most real rivalry that they have at this point, I think, because there's some venom to it. But man, any of those are going to be good. And I don't like that we're going to have to wait 200 and some more days until we get to watch more football. That made me a little sad. I'm going to go have an existential crisis in the hallway. I'll be back in a minute.
Every day's football.
That's true. Football season never ends if we just keep talking about it.
Never.
We get to keep football going.
Never ends.
I'm gonna come in the opening day baseball season in shoulder pads.
Yeah.
I should do that.
I mean, I think they would choose the Bengals on that night to raise the flag and to celebrate a championship in front of Cincy. And by the way, Field, this time last year, I asked him, who wins the Super Bowl. It had been the Rams had just defeated the Bengals the day before, and he'd said the Chiefs. Now, before the season, he picked the Bills because this time last year we didn't know Tyreek Hill was going to be traded.
Yeah.
Von Miller wasn't a Buffalo Bill.
Yeah.
A lot of things that took place from now until the beginning of the season last year. So he chose the Chiefs. But then when we knew what the rosters were, I picked the Bills too, to win the whole thing. So
this was a rebuilding
place money
year.
on the Chiefs.
This was a reloading year,
That's
Jason.
right. Yeah, you got to reorganize. You got to restructure.
Wasn't supposed to be the season.
I'm not even supposed to be here today. They weren't supposed to be there last night. It wasn't as extreme as maybe Kelsey and Patrick made it out to be about nobody believing, and Chris Jones about nobody believing in them. But it wasn't exactly like the 2019 season when they won the Super Bowl and a lot of people were picking them to go and win the Super Bowl and going into that game to win the Super Bowl and to win the AFC and things like that. This was it's the Bengals or Bills and then Eagles. It was a high percentage of, if you take all of the selections nationally between the Bengals game and the Eagles game, it was a large majority that were on the Bengals and the Eagles. That's just reality.
Was it Julian Edelman that said nobody believes in us when the Patriots won the Super Bowl?
Boy, that sounds really familiar, Beards.
Oh, yeah. People had some fun with that last night with Kelsey, and they're like, it's kind of like Georgia.
It was. I said on postgame, it's not as bad as Georgia.
Yeah, it's not as bad as Georgia because everybody picking Georgia.
Right.
But they were one of the betting favorites this year. They weren't the betting favorite because, again, when the season started on September 1st, got them at plus 1,000 at DraftKings, which I appreciated that number. And me taking advantage of that number. So I appreciated that last night. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. You know what I didn't appreciate? That selfish bleeper, Jerick McKinnon. How selfish is he? You know what he didn't think about or care about? Anybody out there with a Jalen Hurts, Travis Kelce, Jerick McKinnon anytime touchdown parlay didn't even care about those of us that had that. What a jerk!
Can I give you one fun betting result that I just saw come down?
Love it.
Do you remember the first bet legally made in the state of Kansas?
Yeah, it was it the Chiefs to win or Mahomes to be Super Bowl MVP or Mahomes to win the MVP?
Governor Laura Kelly bet $15 on the Chiefs to win it all. So now those $165 are being donated to the 15 in the Mahomes Foundation.
Perfect. There
Full
you go.
circle. How good is that?
Hey, every little bit helps. Every little bit helps. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Go next to Mick Shaffer. Go ahead, Mick.
Sorry, it's actually Mackenzie.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, thank you to Field Yates. We continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Typically, we talk with Mick Shaffer in the 1 o'clock hour, but, he's doing some traveling, some flying, and so we talk with Mick Shaffer right now as he is heading back, traveling back. Okay, breaking news. What's the breaking news?
This is from Harold Kuntz. The parade route is going to be the exact same as it was last time. Roll it back campaign.
Couldn't have used Aaron Ladd's tweet.
I think Aaron Ladd tweeted that out also.
I didn't see that one first.
Interesting. Okay. Mick Shaffer, KSHB 41, is our guest here. Mick, what's up, man? How are you?
Dear God, Beard, are you kidding me? Give me a break. It's on Channel 41. The parade's on our air. We've been tweeting stuff all day and night about it. The second I come on, we got the tweet from Harold Kuntz. Give me a break, Beard.
Mick, if it makes you feel any better, I retweeted Aaron's tweet from the 810 account because I am a company man.
Oh, thank goodness. Let's put you back on the board then, Josh.
Well, Harold makes some great points though, so let's not get crazy here.
Mick, if it makes you feel any better, that was a bit, and we told Beers to read that. So that's maybe we did that, maybe we didn't. I don't know. I'm not sure what happens around here. Who really knows? It's just
we is a complicated
I
phrase.
close my eyes and I say, Jesus, take the wheel.
You
and
say Beards just take the wheel.
See what happens at 2 o'clock, and I'll tell you if it was good or not. I'm not sure.
Harold Kuntz, take the wheel.
That's it.
Look, guys, Beards gets us. I learned that from the commercials last night.
You know what Josh says when he's retweeting? You know what? Bleep it. Lad down there somewhere.
Down there somewhere.
Lad's down
Aaron's
there somewhere.
got it. I swear, Aaron's got it to where he can blink a certain way and send a tweet out. It's amazing how much he tweets. I'm like you just tweeted 3 times. We're eating a cheeseburger, Aaron.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
How was your Super Bowl experience last night compared to the one in February 2nd of 2020?
Pretty similar, a little bit better. It's chaos down there on the field. I'm sure some of that is can be seen through the broadcast after the game, but it's chaos, grabbing guys and in the podium area in the locker room. I was just on the field. But we got a lot of great guests. It was a lot of fun, and everybody's happy. And Chiefs PR for once is grab whoever you want. Oh, thanks. Win the Super Bowl more often. And so
it's your
cool.
one night with free reign. Go, take advantage.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was so much fun. I went and got a lot of guys. Dia got more. She killed it. She got Travis Kelce live on our air. And that was just a huge get as he's being shuffled from, one national show to another. But we got him on, and it was kind of a funny moment. And then I had the headset on. We were listening to Patrick Mahomes live at the podium, and she's bringing Travis over. I'm like, oh man, what do we do here? keep it at Patrick, or do we cut to Travis? And they were going to cut to Travis, but Travis was like, no, let's listen to what Pat has to say. So he waited for the press conference to get over with, and then did a great interview with Dia. So a lot of fun. We talked to all the regulars on the field, right? Eric Stone Street, all the super fans, Paul Rudd and Clint Boyer, and it was a great night. I got a bunch of confetti and
nice.
dug a grave's worth of dirt up.
Good for you.
Bring back as well.
Good for you. Good for you. Did you get a big piece of the turf, or was that already torn up by the players?
Right. There was nothing left. It was all dirt.
Grind it up into just the dirt.
Yes. So many times I was, pivoting to turn to Dia, and I would just slip and fall during our live shot.
You didn't switch to the 3/4 spikes at halftime?
I had the wrong loafers on, yeah. I had my nun bushes on.
I had them boat shoes. I thought for sure I would have a little bit more traction there. So halftime, Rihanna's doing her thing. What's your feeling about the actual game? Whether you were thinking about that while Rihanna was, 5 stories in the air, on a glass platform.
In the Super Smash Bros. Level.
That's right. And the recreation of lines of cocaine on glass with the white bubble outfits. As you're watching that, are you thinking about the game? And if you are, like, what's your feeling at halftime of what the second half was going to look like?
I was just mad that they all were, copied Juju Smith-Schuster's game day outfits and wore those out there. And I think somebody tweeted at me that he was waiting for all the backup dancers to go jump on tauntauns and run away.
That's right.
Star Wars movie reference.
No, absolutely. I don't even watch Star Wars, but I know that reference. I got it.
I thought the Chiefs were going to lose, to answer your question. I thought the Chiefs were getting outplayed at that point, and they were. And the last time I saw Patrick Mahomes, he was wincing and hobbling off the field. And so I thought they were going to lose at that point. It was a very similar feeling to 3 years ago in Miami. But I think this time around the Chiefs kind of jumped back and seized, momentum of the game a lot earlier than they did in that Super Bowl against the 49ers.
Well, it's interesting because the moment, both times, looking back, and as you mentioned that, 8 minutes to go, the interception against the 49ers, they're down by 10 points. They go on a 21-0 run. In this game, they're down by 10 at halftime, and the last time we saw Patrick Mahomes, he was in pain on the sideline and his head on Rick Burkholder's shoulder, and they come out and go on a 21-3 run with that. I mean, it's remarkable that they were able to do that, and it's the second time in Super Bowl history that a team with a double-digit lead loses in the Super Bowl. The other one was the Falcons. So apparently, if you're a bird mascot, you lose games if you've got a double-digit lead. Those leads fly away. But I'm with you. I thought it was over. In fact, I said when they went to halftime, I said, "Well, thanks for playing." And I'm done.
We should know better at this point.
I know, right? We really should. I mean, but it had all the feels of like it just wasn't their night. It just had and just a little too much. The injury to Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts was just magical in that game. They couldn't get off the field defensively. They had opportunities and they let him get away, and all of a sudden you're down 10 points.
Yeah, and look, I'm not even joking here. Thanks to Rihanna for going for 30 minutes because I think there were a lot of adjustments at halftime that needed to be made, and I think they did. And he came out and all of a sudden you weren't stopping the Eagles, but you were slowing them. I thought as big as that touchdown was by the offense to start the second half, holding Philly to a field goal right after that and keeping it a one-possession game was just as big. Of course, the Chiefs come back down and score themselves. I think the game plan went a lot like what Philly wanted to do. There weren't a lot of possessions. They were doing whatever they wanted. I mean, every third down, every fourth down, converting. And I've never seen so many quarterback sneaks in my life. I mean, it's every possession, every series of downs.
Seriously,
and
they
always working.
Converted all of them. Like it seems like that is unstoppable. Like how that thing should be 100%. When has a team ever stopped a Jalen Hurts quarterback sneak? Like I don't know if one exists, and if it does, I think it's probably where the officials made it happen, and it was part of the script just to make it sound like it's not the way that it always goes. Speaking of the Rihanna and the 30-minute halftime, Beards, can you play the clip number 8? Because Juju kind of talks about this at halftime. They're down by 10. And at the Super Bowl, it is a longer, extended halftime. And Rihanna's out there going through her thing. I had 2 number 8s. So second half motivation, Juju. Sorry. I have 2 number 8s there. That's my bad. Turns out we had 25 clips, not 24.
Good Lord.
Clip number 8, number 1, with Juju here talking about halftime.
Oh, move. But then we came in second half. Bro, that 29 minutes was perfect. I mean, I didn't get to see the Rihanna performance, but I hope she was probably amazing. But that 29 minutes that we had literally brought us together. And it was just the passion and energy, and that we got to just be ourselves. And we got to dedicate your whole body, your whole life for 30.
I think that was going to be 30 minutes for that. Not sure what happened on that. I'll take the blame for that one. But I don't know if Rihanna was good. She probably killed it. But that 29 minutes was huge for us to come together, and just the passion that was there in the locker room and be yourself. And for 30 minutes, go out and leave everything on the field.
Yeah, and they did, and just the play calling and the plays we saw in that second half, I thought was just a great job by the coaching staff. I mean, that action, I don't know if we'd seen that action of the motion in, snap, stop, and then pop right back out like we saw on the Kadarius Toney touchdown, like we saw on the Sky Moore touchdown, like we saw on Juju Smith-Schuster's play at the end where he got held.
Mm-hmm.
And the penalty, and that basically allowed the Chiefs to drain the clock all the way down and kick the game-winning field goal. It was that was something they clearly saw on film in the 2 weeks, and were able to exploit at just the right time, and just the momentum just turned. And then, I mean, once Kadarius Toney had that punt return, it was all on the side of the Chiefs. Even when they came down and got the octopus, right? Right, that's an octopus, right? Whenever Jalen Hurts scores, and then he scores a 2-point conversion, I kind of expected that. I maybe didn't expect him to come down and score that quickly, but the offense is rolling, and just what a great. I mean, I'm sure it was called a 4-minute drill because you practice that. You don't practice a 5-minute drill. But I know that's how much time they had, but just a perfect drive to end the game.
Yeah, and those. The motions that they had and that action with Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, I'm shocked that on both of those plays, the Eagles defender, as their man was going in motion, they just dropped their head and looked to the defense as they were running, not looking at what was going on with the motion man, and it makes sense because they're expecting to see what the Chiefs have done. And, okay, they bring this guy in motion. He goes across the field when it's Sky Moore or Kadarius Toney. I've got to sprint as fast as I can over there because they're going to do a little pop pass to him, and I've got to be over there to cut it off, or he's going to go into the flat. I've got to be able to do that. So as he starts to go in motion, they start sprinting and not even looking and paying attention to where Kadarius Toney is. And both times you scheme up receivers on – were both of those third downs?
They're both third downs. That's my next point. Yeah,
on third downs. And also,
go back to those.
Go ahead.
Touchdowns in the AFC Championship. Well, I mean, just the touchdowns in the AFC Championship game, right? The game as well. I mean, it was a 4th and 1 to Kelsey. There was a 3rd and 10 to Valdez-Scantling. Those were both third down conversions there. I mean, they got to the red zone, but I mean, those were kind of do or die plays, and the Chiefs were able to convert all of those.
Also, with the nerves of Andy Reid, and Greg Olson pointed this out, I learned a new rule last night, but when they came out with the little ring around the rosy again, and Andrew Wiley was, he was eligible, came in, announced that he was an eligible receiver, and that was a play for Andrew Wiley, but the Eagles knew that was coming, and they guarded him, and so Patrick Mahomes just threw it away. I didn't know that you could, when you announce that you're eligible, you can't then go to be an ineligible receiver the next play. So Wiley had to leave the game, and Andy Reid had to put in Lucas Niang on 3rd down and goal. So Andy Reid knew, if we don't get this touchdown on this play, I've got to have a different right tackle out there. So the Stones to say, we're going to get it, and if not, I trust Lucas Niang there at right tackle, and we'll figure out a play that we can get it done. I didn't realize that rule, but Niang played right tackle on that Sky Moore touchdown.
I think the Eagles were outcoached in a lot of ways. You saw it on the one challenge that Chiefs lost. Look, that was a mistake by the coaching staff on the Goddard catch. How they ran up to the line of scrimmage to run what's called like a fire play, right, or whatever. Like we're running a play that hopefully we get yards on, but most of all, we just want to run another play to make sure it doesn't get challenged, right? Well, they subbed in there, right? They subbed in.
The Eagles, the Eagles didn't
have time to sub back.
So the Eagles didn't sub, but it's another rule that I learned too, that when the play is over on the sideline and Dallas Goedert, who's knocked down to the sideline, comes off the sideline back onto the field, it's counted as a quote-unquote sub that the defense still has to get ready for whatever the personnel package is going to be in, because there were 10 players on the field and the Eagles brought somebody else back on even though he was on the play before. Also learned that rule.
So if a guy goes out of bounds on a play,
the other team would have the right to come up and
next play.
Yep. So like on the first drive against the 49ers when Devontae Smith had that long catch on 4th down and 1, and it was incomplete, and they ran up to the line of scrimmage. Devontae Smith was in bounds when he caught that. He didn't go out of bounds. Dallas Goedert got pushed out of bounds, was there in the bench area with other players, therefore runs out on the field. The officials are saying, well, no, the Chiefs have an opportunity to substitute because now, there's a player coming from off the sideline. And so the officials caught that. I mean, the officials are able to do that, and the Chiefs are subbing at the same time. So everybody's got to be aware of that rule that I found out existed last night. Just amazing.
Yeah, I had no idea. I just assumed they had subbed somebody off the sideline there that maybe Goddard was.
Yeah, because they called the fire to get up there and go fast. Yeah, so I mean, it's I didn't know that rule. Found it out last night.
Such a good ref.
He's on it.
So pleased that he got to call that game.
Everybody said that. Everybody that I know says that Sheffer's. There's a reason that was his third Super Bowl. It's because those guys are on it, man.
Adds a new meaning to the term chef's kiss.
It does.
Yeah, not
CHEFF''S.
It's not what you got there with that one. Mwah. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. One more segment with Mick Shaffer as he is flying home, and he's going to be boarding here in about.
Guess where I'm at, fellas.
You are in Phoenix.
Oh, I've already taken a flight today. I am in San Diego.
Oh, so a direct route.
You guys have seen a map before, but not going the right direction yet.
Technically, you can go west to get to KC from Phoenix.
Again, we were talking about that. We just want to keep going backwards in time, get younger, keep it happen.
There you go. That's Ponce de Leon was going the wrong way. He was going east. It was idiot. You're getting older. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Have you done it? What'd you do last night in Vegas?
I was in Kansas City last night.
Cool.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Mick Shaffer in San Diego.
Mick, I got a question for you. What are the food options like in the San Diego airport?
Let's walk around. We got the counter. I just got a custom-built burger from the counter. Still walking around here. I think I saw Starbucks.
Any two-story biscuit sandwiches or New York-style hand-tossed pizza or anything like that?
Not that cool, Josh.
Oh, man. Boy, I hope that plane gets you back here quickly so you can visit Atomic Cowboy Sports Saloon where they have the two-story biscuit sandwiches from Denver Biscuit Company all morning. I almost went, by the way. I was sitting in the office at 5 a.m. thinking, boy, if I could just make it a little longer, I can get to Atomic Cowboy. And then I fell asleep and I ran out of time. But Denver Biscuit Company for your morning, because New York-style hand-tossed pizza from Fat Sully's all evening and afternoon. 20 beers on tap all the time. 42nd in Pennsylvania and Westport. I love it very much. And, Mick, if I could teleport you there right now, God, I'd do it for you.
Yeah, it's like, is it one restaurant or like four? I can't tell. It's like
yes.
How many countries are in this country?
It's
how many
exactly
restaurants
right.
are in this restaurant?
That's exactly right. It's Atomic, baby.
Love that line, Ted Lasso. How many countries are in this country? Mick, do you have a learned or a funniest or a best from the
Oh my
weekend?
God, it's Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I got a funniest.
Yeah, go ahead.
You see the tweet going around. It was towards the end of the game last night. Somebody tweeted on a flight from somewhere to somewhere. I don't know. It was dark, and all the screens were on the backs of the seats. Right, everybody's watching the Super Bowl as it comes down the wire in an instant classic Super Bowl. But the guy tweets, the guy watching Hitch on this flight instead of football should be imprisoned or something like that.
Yes.
Sure enough, you zoom in, and one of the screens in the middle has Kevin James on it. So you guys watching Hitch. All the rest of the flight's watching the Super Bowl.
Who are you?
Threat to humanity, man.
Who is this person? That's great. That's great. One person watching a Hitch. Also, man, you're traveling during the Super Bowl. Oh, I mean, sometimes you don't have a choice. You just gotta figure that out.
I mean, if you don't have a dog in the fight, I would have traveled during last year's Super Bowl. Absolutely. I don't remember much about last year's Super Bowl.
Oh, I remember there was a holding call with about a minute and a half to go in the game with the Rams driving, and it was a holding call inside the 5-yard line. It gave the Rams an automatic first down, and nobody bitched about it. That's what I remember from the Super Bowl last year.
I would think if the guy admitted to committing the foul, then it should be case closed.
Yeah.
He pled guilty post-game. What are we doing?
But apparently when the other team gets the ball back like the Bengals did with like a minute something to play down 3, it's okay to make that call for the Rams in that situation, giving them an automatic first down inside the 5-yard line and eventually a touchdown to Cooper Kupp when they were down 4, 1 by 3. Because if Aaron Donald then gets a couple of sacks, it's different. It's okay to make that call. So that's what I remember.
Yeah, they should throw flags on the field and then look and say, wait, what quarter and how much time's left? Should we pick this up or not? That should be the goal.
Always be. Mick, safe travels, man. I know you have a lot of control over the flight, so safe travels, bud.
Will do. On my sixth flight ever.
Warzone next.
Art and Frame Warehouse.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Let's do the NFC. Let's go to the NFC. Offensive scoring overall, top 10, Philadelphia.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
By the way, I love that Todd Lebo today is wearing his Charlie's Sports Bar, Chiefs Bar of Philadelphia. Charlie's in Philly, the official Chiefs bar or restaurant, sports bar, whatever it might be.
Big Charlie's.
Big Charlie's, sorry.
Big
Big
Charlie's.
Charlie's.
Confused with small or medium Charlie's.
Not average Charlie's.
No.
Big Chuck's. Big Charlie's. I hope that place was protected last night.
Oh, man, that might have been. Yeah, that's like
Do people in Philadelphia know that Big Charlie's is a Chiefs spot, or is that just something people in Kansas City know because if they go to Philadelphia, it's well known as the Big Charlie's in Philly as a Chiefs spot?
There's a secret knock, and then they slide open the little eye window kind of thing. Not a peephole, but one of those little sliding doors. They ask for the password.
Yeah.
I don't know what the password is, but
let's play a couple of clips here. You know, we asked Field Yates about, is this a dynasty since they've now won 2 out of 4? And he said, I love the answer. He said, well, I'm glad that my job is not really spending a lot of airtime having to debate these things that are pretty subjective. And there are some shows that will spend a lot of time discussing those things. And he said, but it kind of feels like 3 would be the magic number, like 3 out of 7 or 3 in 8 years, not 3 Super Bowls in 15 years, but 3 out of 7. Well, they've got 2 out of 4, so maybe if they get 1 over the next 3 years, it's dynastic. Patrick Mahomes, let's play clip number 6 here. Patrick Mahomes weighing in on if this is a dynasty or not.
I'm not going to say dynasty yet. We're not done. Okay. So I'm not going to say dynasty yet.
Even Patrick Mahomes says, shut up with that dynasty talk.
It's
not yet. They haven't earned it. You watch your mouth. You shut up. That was definitely a BS call. Here's let's play clip number 7. Frank Clark after the game, and Frank Clark can get emotional a couple ways. He can get emotional and demonstrative in your face and letting off some pent-up frustration and aggression verbally about what just happened, and he can get emotional when it comes to tears and what happened in the game and looking back on seasons and careers. Here is Frank Clark after the game.
Season before we knew all the trades and stuff, I said, man, I didn't give my all to y'all boys last year. I said, I'm going to give y'all my all, man. I'm going to come back in the best shape. Mentally, I'm going to come back right. So I'm going to give y'all boys my best because I know what I need to do for this team for us to succeed. And I gave my boys my all, man. That's all I know. I'm just proud of everybody, man. It's been a long route, It was a hard first half. We got the job done. I'm just very emotional. I'm sorry. They tears of joy, though. It's like when you've been through a lot of shit and you finally hit the top of the pinnacle, it all makes sense, you know what I'm saying? I just want to continue to show my teammates and be the best teammate to these boys in the world,
I love you, man.
I love you too, young
Thank
boy.
you for everything, man.
I got you,
I love
boy.
you, bro.
I got you.
The best part of this, Frank, is it's not just the Chiefs' journey, it's been your journey since you've been in the league. As you're standing there at the pinnacle and thinking about everything you've gone through, everything you've learned, what's the most important thing right now with your growth, standing here, getting ready to hoist that trophy?
The biggest thing is just understanding that life, life don't get second chances, but, as a person, the one thing you can do is be a stand-up guy. You're going to make some mistakes, you know what I'm saying? I said that before. It's about how you get back from them, though. Like, it's how you bounce back. You can be at the bottom of the totem pole, and then at the top of it, and the next day, it's just got to keep on battling, keep on going, keep on scratching, keep on clawing. It's going to all make sense.
That's my bad. That's my bad on that. Forgot to put the bleep on that thing.
Where'd you get this audio from, Jason?
For those online, you know what I'm talking about. For those that were listening terrestrially on the radio, you did not hear an S-bomb that he's been through a lot of shame. So that's on me. I'm going to go ahead and take responsibility for that, guys.
Chest tap, hand up.
Okay. You know what? That's my bad. It's my bad. Yeah, I know. Who else's bad would it be?
It's like Jalen Hurts going down the sideline being like, hey, that fumble's on me. Yeah, man.
Got it, man.
We know, dude. I'm the right guard. What was I going to do with the ball there?
Point guard throws the ball just out of bounds. Yeah, that's my bad.
Hey, sorry, guys.
Well, it sure as hell wasn't the guy on the bench's fault.
Turnover on me.
I don't think that was Drake's fault that, that curse word got out there.
It might have been Drake's fault.
But I love that Frank Clark, I didn't give it my all last year. And I returned and said, there's one thing you're going to get, and you're going to get my all. You're going to get every part of me this year. And the reward at the end is even sweeter when you put even more into it and you come away victorious and you played a part. I mean, it's not just that he was along for the ride. I mean, Frank Clark wasn't the awful player that he was the last couple of years. He was okay this year. And then he turned out to be playoff Frank Clark again, getting sacks against the Jags, sacks against the Bengals, and pressuring Jalen Hurts a couple of times. And everybody played a role. Everybody had to do their job for the Chiefs to find a way to win that one last night. I want to play clip number 11. Travis Kelce postgame on his thoughts, how much this win means to him.
What was the conversation you had with your brother right after the game?
Man, there's nothing I could tell him right now that'll make anything feel better. I've been in a situation where I've lost the Super Bowl and arguably a worse situation than he's in right now. And, Philadelphia has nothing to be ashamed about. They had an unbelievable team, unbelievable season, and it went down to the wire right there. And, all I could tell him was I love him. And thanks for making this one of the best years of my life, man. I got to get closer to my brother throughout doing the podcast throughout the year and had a whole lot of fun doing it. And I appreciate everybody for appreciating my family and our dynamic throughout this entire wild Super Bowl weekend. It's been a wild run, man.
Yeah, that's on me. That's my bad. I said 11, but I meant 12.
This is like when Skylar Thompson was in getting the play calls in the Dolphins playoff game, where there's a lot of miscommunication, some delays of game. I'm trying to figure out where this audio came from.
It's my bad. It's like Chris Farley in Dirty Work. G7! Dude, you just pressed G8. If you like pina coladas. All right, let's play clip number 12 here.
This is when Travis Kelce drops an F-bomb, and actually it's Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yes. That was the conversation about what was said between he and his brother, Jason, after the game was over. This is how much the win means to one greatest tight end of all time.
Oh, man. I feel like this was the happiest year of my life, man. And both off the field, on the field, to see my family be in all its glories, get all the flowers, my mom be the center of attention on the Jumbotron before the game, on the biggest stage, being able to get closer with my brother throughout the season, and then meet him at the mountaintop. It's the best feeling in the world, man. And I'll tell you what, I don't know how many I got left, but I'm sure going to cherish this one forever.
You see guys that are at the top of their game that do things that only one other player has done in the history of the NFL. I mean, if you're talking about like touchdowns in the postseason, Jerry Rice more than Travis Kelce. But when it comes to tight ends, he is atop the mountain in the postseason. And you've got all of those accolades, and you've got a ring, and you win another one, and it hits him like that emotionally to where he just breaks down in tears. And it's like, this is the greatest player at his position ever, and it still means that much to get that win where, I mean, it's expected to meet, right? As coaches used to say, or maybe still say, that at the end of the year you should be crying, either from happy tears because you put so much into it and you won, or sad tears because you put so much into it and you lost. There should be tears there at the end of the season. But that emotional to where Kelce almost couldn't even talk, I thought that was a pretty cool scene and pretty cool to hear from a guy who is ultra cool, right? The cool guy and Kelce. And he's up there, getting emotional and crying about, what this one means. And you just get the feeling that this one meant more to almost everybody across the board in the entire organization.
Yeah, and you could hear his voice kind of just barely holding for a good chunk of his press conference last night, specifically when it was all of that, like, talking about his mom up on the Jumbotron, media night. I'm sure she got up there at some point during the game, I would imagine, probably multiple times.
They showed her next to Roger Goodell multiple times during the game.
Yeah, right. Where was Papa Kelsey, by the way? Was he with Mrs. Goodell? Like, what was going on there?
It's a great point, because you've got Raj, you've got Mrs. Kelsey, and you've got DeMar Hamlin.
Yeah.
Papa Kelsey gets no love.
Where is he at? I don't know. Is he wearing a split jersey somewhere? I don't know. That was confusing. But all of the energy that comes from that, and there were guys, Mahomes talked about, it kind of mattering a little extra because they knew what losing was like. I think it was Kelsey who went on to talk about winning it for Andy Reid against his old team and that having a little extra juice for it as well. There are a lot of people telling a lot of stories about why this game mattered the way that it did, and it comes through in clips like that one.
And, of course, clip number 23, Beards, we also have a little fun with what happened last night, and Pat Mahomes the first enjoying himself a victory.
Hey, it was Joe Burrow last week. It's Philly this week.
Philly Blunts. It's got them Philly Blunts.
Bleep it. Aaron Ladd down there somewhere. Look at him, man.
Down there somewhere,
this
man.
This is his beat now, is asking Patrick Mahomes Sr. what he's smoking on this weekend.
It's just what he does, man. Let's hear from Nick Bolton on the field. This is clip number 8, too. The second number 8 clip that's there, not the second half motivation of Juju. Here's Nick Bolton on the field talking about his game, the fumble return, and this victory in a Super Bowl for him in year number 2.
Make sure nobody's really behind me at first, man. But then after that, I knew I was in the clear, man. I was able to pull up the gas a little bit. But, yeah, man, it's a surreal moment for sure.
You almost had a second one. Talk about that one.
Yeah, man, Sneed made a hell of a play on there. I think it was a check down the flat, and he was bang play. I knew it was incomplete when I picked it up, man, but I tried to settle it a little bit. Maybe they would give us one.
Tell me what this moment feels like to you, second year in the league, leading the team in tackles, and you come out tonight and win a Super Bowl ring. Yeah, man, it's a lot of credit to the guys around me, man. They allowed me to do my job to the best of my ability, give me confidence to do my job, man, and man, most of all, man, it's just a great environment to be in, man. D-line, man, great. Man, generating pressure all day, keeping the linebackers clean. Secondary, we got a young secondary, man. We're coming to our own as we keep going and keep directing forward, man. So I'm excited what we got going forward, man, and it feels good to be world champs. Jalen Hurts got his rushing yards, but you guys managed in the end to contain him just enough.
Yeah, man. Give those guys a lot of credit, man. A physical bunch, man, gritty, resilient. Those guys prepare their ass off for the play in this game, man. You can tell. Man, but we was able to get a couple stops, man, when it mattered, and the offense got rolling in the second half and found a way to win.
Halftime, what was the talk there like for you?
Yeah, man, I feel like halftime, the message was do us like we've been doing, but do it a little bit better. Man, we kind of left a couple plays out there we could have made, and that's just some scores. So the second half, man, we just want to zone in a little bit more and just kind of limit those explosive plays, man, and give us a chance to win at the end.
Little vindication for the way it ended last year, the season ended last year.
Man, yeah, that was a tough loss at the end last year, man. But find a way to get back to this game and finally get a win, man. It's great, man. It just shows how gritty our bunch is.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
I know you made a lot of MIZ folks happy. You made the entire Chiefs Kingdom happy.
Yes,
Nick
I
Bolton,
appreciate it. Thank
congratulations, my man.
Thank you.
All right.
I don't know who left that last part in. I'm not sure.
That's crazy.
My bad.
That's you again.
That's my bad. That's my bad. That's my fault.
Left that.
That's my fault. One of the things that I wanted to play, one of the reasons why I wanted to play that is Nick Bolton saying in real time he thought it was incomplete with Miles Sanders. But he's like, still pick it up, run it in the end zone. Maybe I could sell it.
Hope the refs don't see it.
Yes.
Sound familiar?
That's right. But as soon as, he caught it, got to. By the way, it's amazing that Dallas Goedert was a catch. Miles Sanders was not. Miles Sanders has 2 feet down, full possession of the ball, starting to turn, and it gets knocked out. Dallas Goedert is bobbling the ball, but his toe is still on the ground when he finally gets 2 hands on it as his toe is releasing off the ground, and he gets 1 full foot down, and that's complete. It is unbelievable in the NFL. By the way, that was the same drive, if you don't remember. The same drive, both of those replays went against the Chiefs, which is odd that the script would be that.
Crazy.
Clearly the fix was in. But you know what? You can't overturn the Dallas Goedert call at that time.
Beards literally got I can't remember which. I think it might have been the Goddard one. Beards literally got a phone call from his wife while we were sitting in here watching the game, and then I got to sit here and listen to Beards try to explain what a catch is, and he tried. He did try, but I didn't feel like I knew anything else any better after that. Not because of Beards' explanation, but because catches are vibes-based only at this point.
Good for you.
It was nice to be here for the attempt, though.
Sometimes it's the attempt that matters. Let's hear clip number 13, Harrison Butker, if we can, after the game was over. And this man kicked a field goal to send his team to the Super Bowl and kicked a field goal for his team to win the Super Bowl. Here is butt kicker Harrison Butker.
After the 2020 season when we lost to Tampa, so glad we were able to get the win. It was a tough halftime for us, knowing that we're down by 10. I thought Patrick and Kels did a great job kind of rallying the troops, getting us motivated to go out there. I believe we scored a touchdown on our first drive. And then I thought special teams, with the punt return, made a big difference for us to then, get another close touchdown. I think Kadarius Toney got us inside the 10. So it feels amazing just to see all the confetti. You try not to think about it too much leading up to the week. I guess 2 weeks of preparation. But, it's amazing now that all the dreams, all the visualizing that we're going to win came true, and now you can experience and relax and enjoy the win.
Harrison, what about the dreaming and visualizing for you of kicking a game-winning field goal in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, you got to take it one kick at a time, and I really try to focus on the process, but those thoughts go through your head all the time. You get asked by media the whole week leading up to it about the game-winning kick, all those things. I try to just focus on one kick and focusing on the process. Obviously, in the first quarter, missed that first field goal. Didn't really feel great in the warm-up, but, you got to keep working on it, not think about the what-ifs. What if you make one? What if you miss one? You just got to go out and focus on what you can control. And, I kind of had the easy job there. The offensive line did a great job blocking, great snap, great hold. And, thankfully that ball went through, and all glory to God.
Harrison, how does it compare kicking the game-winning, Super Bowl-winning field goal to what you dreamed of as a kid when you were growing up?
Yeah, that's what you dream of as a kicker, getting to the Super Bowl and have a game-winning kick. And, it's crazy to think that that's now happened. What is it, a walk-off game win? I don't know what it is when there's time left on the clock. But it's an amazing feeling, and I'm just so happy now to be with the Chiefs organization with, great leaders. And Patrick did a great job leading us to this victory.
Warm-ups, he didn't feel good. Not sickness-wise, but warm-ups, he just didn't feel good. It just wasn't, maybe it was the fact that he was on that turf again from week number 1, and he hooks the first one. Looked like he slipped a little bit, but hooks the first one. An extra point, slides to the right, and almost misses that one. But, just pounds that game-winning kick right down the middle. And I didn't realize at the time, but the ball went over the net. That is one hell of a souvenir. Somebody's got that ball. Somebody in the stands has that football. Because Butker had said in a different interview, he goes, well, I didn't get the ball back because it went over the net. So I'm not sure who got that. I'm like, wow, that is one hell of a souvenir if you're walking away with that football. Because once you come away with it, I'm sticking that thing under my shirt.
Yep, you got to suddenly you're a little pregnant or you had too much to eat or whatever.
Absolutely, man. Hiding that thing with and holding on to that like it's I'm running back in the program.
It's gonna look like you maybe just went to Atomic Cowboy Sports Saloon, as seen on Food Network, Dinos, Drive-Ins, and Dives, and Man vs. Food. You can go yourself at 42nd in Pennsylvania and Westport.
It's probably something that's a great comparison.
That's what I'm thinking about. I'm starting to get a little hungry again and talk about,
I went Darnell Jefferson of the program, and you went Atomic Cowboy. So
we're both on brand here so far, I think.
Absolutely.
The brand health is strong.
No doubt. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll get some Learn Funniest Best, some other sound from the Chiefs last night, and some other takeaways. We talked a lot about this game, obviously the whole show, but a lot of bigger takeaways in the first hour that we can get into some of those again as we continue rolling on a Victory Monday. Chiefs, Super Bowl 57, champions 38-35. 35 over the Eagles. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Briscoe, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Championship ticket sales games.
Championship tickles.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco and Beards. Heading up until 2 o'clock. The program with Soren Petro comes your way at 2, and we'll continue the ride. Victory Monday, Super Bowl champions. Let's have a parade, everybody. Huh? How about this? Let's just meet downtown. Same parade route as the parade in 2020. Same parade route. So if you experience that parade, you know what the route will be. Also, pro tip, in 2015 was not at the Royals parade. So the only parade I've enjoyed with a championship was the parade of 2020. Pro tip, one or the other. At the beginning of the parade, sort of like halfway between the first half of the parade, so like a quarter of the way through the route, or at the end at the Liberty Memorial and the at Union Station, one of the two. Because what I found out is the longer into the parade route, the quicker they go by, trying to catch up to the others. So where we were in 2020, Mahomes kind of just flew right by. And I'm like, oh, hey, oh. All right, well, that's cool. There he goes. But early on, they're tossing beers, right?
Yeah.
They're doing some of those things because early on, they're taking their time. They're enjoying it, waving to everybody. And then they start to get behind, and now you got to catch up towards the end. Little pro tip, as we go through these parade routes more and more.
It's just becomes so commonplace at this point. I mean, it's just like every few years we have one of these things.
That's right. Learn funniest best. You guys got to learn, got to funniest.
I'm going to figure it out,
weekend.
man. This is the least prepared. I forgot it was Monday. It's still kind of Sunday for me.
It's the least prepared, but maybe one of the easiest that you can come up with.
It should be pretty good.
Best.
I got to come up with the funniest. I'll figure one out. I've laughed in the last 24 hours.
My learned is that...
Oh, I'm good. I got my 3.
Maybe Bart Scott redeemed himself?
This is unbelievable.
Maybe?
It's unbelievable.
Bart Scott picked the Chiefs to win 38-35.
Like the same Chiefs that he said weren't going to make the playoffs?
Right. But he has to make a... Yeah, he doesn't get a choice of whether or not they're going to make the playoffs when they're in the Super Bowl, so he has to pick a winner and a score.
I mean, he could have stuck to his guns and said the Eagles.
Why didn't he?
38-0 is what he should have said.
Because he's a coward.
But he didn't.
They should have had negative points because they weren't going to make it.
38-35. Chiefs from one Bart Scott.
It's the most shocking person that you could have possibly picked to have gotten the score absolutely correct.
Nate Burleson also got the final score correct, 38-35. Said that late in the game that Patrick Mahomes will lead a game-winning field goal drive.
How did our bets do down in the video?
Oh, that's a great question.
Do you know off the top of your head? There was extra money boosted in it and everything. I just realized. I imagine you had the Chiefs in the over.
I took the Chiefs. And so we had 500 to play with, right?
Oof, okay. Yeah, this is like a 10-weeker here.
We had 500 to play with.
Big comeback.
I said I did not have a good feel for the over-under, so I put 50 on the under.
Okay, that's fine.
But I had the Chiefs plus the 1.5. I think I put 250 on that.
Love it.
And then I put 100 on Trent McDuffie over 4.5 tackles at plus 100.
Which hit?
That hit.
Bang.
And 100 on Isaiah Pacheco over 11.5 carries. That was at plus 110.
Bang!
Which also hit.
Look at that. All right. Ending with a good one for us.
Only lost the $50.
That's great. That's fine.
So we got 450 out of 500 correct, with a couple of those being plus.
Plus money. Okay, all right.
So, yeah.
I don't think we're going to get to first, but we're definitely not in last. So that's
exactly right.
That's okay with me.
But sometimes if you're not first, you're last.
Yeah, in this case, I'll take second.
What did you learn, Josh?
I learned that I can, in fact, sleep on the floor of the office here, but I would not necessarily recommend it. So a quick breakdown. I have a lunch bag that's kind of like canvas that I emptied out, and I decided I'd turn that into an impromptu pillow. I thought about like trying to stuff it up with some paper towels or something, but by that point I was already committed. And so that was not ideal. I think if I would have brought in a sleeping bag. I definitely could have made it work a little more comfortably. Overall, it was not a great experience, but I learned that I can get a couple hours on the floor here, and apparently feel great because my energy levels are still pretty good.
All right. Right. For now.
For now.
But
hey, the show's over in 30 minutes. I'm feeling okay about my job.
And he's out. You almost made it. You almost got there. So close. Beards, what'd you learn?
I learned that everybody should just bet the over on Chris Jones plus 1 million sacks next year because after the game, he was hugging Roger Goodell, and Roger said, "I don't care how you hit the quarterback."
Whoa!
So
what?
That's what he said. He said, "I don't care how you hit the quarterback." So everybody, plus bet your house over 1 million sacks for Chris Jones next year. It's gonna happen.
I didn't hear that. I saw the controversy.
Break the housing market.
I saw the controversy of Roger Goodell hugging Chris Jones, and then Chris Jones picking him up.
That was roughing the passer, though.
Yes. See, and that's the thing. Roger Goodell went and hugged Chris Jones. Chris Jones then pulls him up, and then you take a still shot of Roger Goodell that looks like he jumped into Chris Jones' arms. The still shot because Chris Jones is
It
hugging
really
him.
does. It looks like Roger Goodell. You're right. It started as a little dab.
Jumped into his but Chris Jones hugs him and picks him up and does like a big bear hug. So that was controversial.
Quote,
it was like, well,
I don't care how you hit the quarterback. That's hilarious.
Is that a real quote, though?
I'm going to have to.
I heard him say it there.
Did you hear it?
Yes,
I haven't turned on the audio yet.
I played back the video.
Okay, that's amazing.
Wow, how about that? Maybe the fix was in. There it is, the script. There it is right there. All right, we start with you, Josh. What was the funniest from the weekend?
66%. 66%. I've not yet heard from Mr. Aikman. He told me to call him when Mahomes was at 33% of his 3 rings.
Never returned your call on that one, did he?
No, he sure didn't. I don't know if maybe he's having a hard time finding me. I'm pretty available online, as are a lot of other Chiefs fans. Again, he said to talk to him once Mahomes got to 33, and now we're at 66 repeating, or you could round up to 67 if you'd like.
Yeah, 0.6 repeating, of course. What was the funniest for you, Beards?
I'm going to do, I got 2 here. One is on brand, one is Chiefy. The Chiefy one, the Super Bowl halftime show had some good meme potential coming out of it. There was some good stuff there. My on-brand one is the Brooklyn Nets put out a tweet the other day. It's just a full frame photo of Kyrie Irving that's just "Thank you, Kyrie."
For what?
My funniest happened on Saturday night. The Lakers game. LeBron is not playing in the Lakers game.
Now he's broke the record. He has nothing to play for.
He's on the bench. There are 2 seats at the end of the bench that apparently are sold that fans can sit in. And there's a younger girl, probably like 14 years old, that's sitting in that seat next to LeBron James. And looks like her brother is right next to her. So they decide on the TV broadcast to go down and interview the girl. LeBron is sitting there next to this 14-year-old girl,
No way.
and they are talking to her. What's it like to be next to LeBron James right now? And he's looking to his right, like she's sitting to his left. He's looking to his right, like cheering and everything, like trying not to acknowledge that this is going on. What's it like? She's like, I don't know. It's just amazing.
12 years old.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just amazing. And she goes, what would you say to LeBron James if you could?
He's like, I could.
I could. I would just say how awesome he is as a player and just, I'm like, you're interviewing the girl about sitting next to LeBron James while LeBron James is sitting right there.
Like your knees probably touched by accident at some point, right? Like those seats aren't huge. And he is.
Unbelievable that interview took place.
All right, there's a little high five here of the 2 of them, maybe after the game
they
also.
did talk?
So they did at least make contact at least
good.
once.
Because at that time, apparently they hadn't, because she was still talking about what she would say to LeBron if she had the chance. You know, in an entire game sitting next to him.
That's so funny.
In plain clothes.
Yeah, there's a picture of them together here that's adorable.
It was unbelievable watching this interview take place. Like, what is going on?
Oh, it's funny. Okay, I'm seeing now. So she's just sitting there, and then LeBron walks over and sits down next to her, and that's when she goes up, down with her eyes, and then it's straight, mouth agape, hands over mouth.
Right.
Like, what What?
But then let's do an we need to go interview that girl sitting next to LeBron.
Next to LeBron.
All right,
so
the best for you, Beards.
We're going to have sad Philadelphia fans on Reddit at some point this week.
Oh, boy, that might be my best also.
Are they sad or enraged?
I haven't gone through post-game yet. They've got some pretty sad stuff.
It's going to be. They've lost a lot of championship games. Phillies, Union, Eagles now. 3 in like a year and a half or something,
Sixers are
right?
up next. Let's go.
Yeah, the Sixers aren't going to make the finals.
Or
Come
Sterling Holmes.
Is he a Philly fan?
He worked for the Sixers for a while.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I won't ever stop saying John. It's really.
Yeah,
he loves reminding you that he lived in Philly for 3 years.
What's up, John? Hey,
like
what's up, that Jean over there?
Like half of his personality is that he used to live in Philadelphia.
Yeah, well, that Super Bowl for them was Jean after the Chiefs kicked that field goal.
The other half of his personality is his mustache.
My best was obvious. Just all of last night.
K-State losing, you're right.
All of last night. I mean, it could have been Golson hitting the shot because I had to pull over. We were driving because we were coming home from my son's basketball game. So we're at a stoplight, and I pull it up. I'm like, oh, wait. They just missed the first free throw. Well, now they can be down by 3. And then a foul happens. The light turns green, and I'm like, so I put the phone down, and I start to take a left at this light, and I find the first road. I pull off, put it in park, hit the flashers, and I pull the phone back up. My wife goes, did you mean to pull off in this road? I go, yeah, look, there's 4 seconds left. So kind of the whole weekend, kind of a best from the whole weekend. And I got to experience the Super Bowl with my brother and nephew, nieces, my son who's 7 and appreciates it and understands it. My wife was there. It was all great. It was awesome. The people I wanted to spend the time with and watch a Super Bowl with was great. In Miami, it was with coworkers, but I got to experience a Super Bowl in person. Tampa was just the family, just my wife and son and young daughter, and this one was everybody together. So that's my best from the weekend. Josh?
I kind of thought Beards' best was going to be getting to watch Super Bowl with me again, but that's not what he said.
Interesting.
So I will make mine twofold. One, being able to do a post-game show again after a Super Bowl win and to take the calls of people in the throes of all of the emotions of that, particularly the stories. And it's all podcasted, so you can find it on the 810 app or on the old Almost Entirely Sports feed. But the stories that people tell about the people who they watched worse football with are my favorite ones in fandom. It is the connective tissue between fans of the same team. It is the reason that all of the sort of tribalism of sports, I think, has a pure heart to it. Because there are people who you've gotten to watch these games with, or maybe people that you didn't get to watch these games with, who you remember in your childhood. You know, if it's a grandparent or your any direct family or friends or whoever it is that helped to make you fall in love with the sport. If you're with them or not, when you have moments like we get last night, it just reverberates throughout generations. I just think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I also think it's awesome that the Chiefs won the Super Bowl while only possessing the football for 24 minutes and 13 seconds. Time of possession is dead. We have killed it.
How did the Chiefs win with losing the time of possession?
I frankly think the Eagles should probably hang a time of possession banner at least, because I've heard that's a really important statistic.
Well, see, that's why they called it that bogus foul on Bradbury late. It's because they had to even that out.
Yep. So you could say the Eagles were on top. Time of possession. I especially appreciated the halftime conversation about time of possession, where not one person mentioned that the Chiefs had a defensive score.
They had like a 4-second possession because the linebacker scored a touchdown. I don't even know if that counts as possession time. That might still be Eagles possession time, probably.
It was a long drive by the Eagles, a scoop and score by the Chiefs, and then a long drive by the Eagles. Not even a mention of the fact that the Eagles got back-to-back possessions where, let's see, they had the ball for a total of 9 minutes and 51, almost 10 minutes of possession in that time from touchdown to fumble to touchdown.
Think about how disastrous that last touchdown possession was for the Chiefs. I mean, they almost scored on the punt return. They only possessed the ball for 49 seconds. I mean, that's hard
true.
to swallow, man. I don't know.
That's a good point. If only Kadarius Toney would have taken a knee and the Chiefs could have gone 60 yards and
Just
had the
fair
ball
catch
for like
it.
4 or 5 minutes.
Yep.
You're right. Time of possession should be not
This
talked
title
about
is tainted
anymore. What was the final time of possession? Now I really want to know.
It was whatever I just said. I've already scrolled past it, but
Sorry.
yeah, whatever.
35-47 to 24-13. So
24-13.
There you go, 24-13. I also learned as we go to break, that even as good as some of the best producers and directors at that stage of calling an NFL game behind the scenes and cameras over here and cameras over there, that even the best at their game miss the story. Travis and Jason Kelce start to hug, and they cut to Kadarius Toney. They cut to Kadarius Toney walking by himself. No Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. No Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy. No storyline for 2 weeks that was built up of the Kelce brothers embracing on the field right as they start to hug. Cut to KT walking by himself.
Maybe Jason Kelce should score a touchdown next time. Then they join.
It's a great point. It's a very good point. Like, even as good as the top of their game.
What, Donna couldn't have 2 pass catchers? I mean, come on.
How do you do that? Like, you just leave it there. Keep it on
Just
Kelce's.
find the Kelce's,
Keep it on the Kelce's.
man.
Then switch to Mahomes and Hurts. Then switch to Andy Reid and whoever he's talking to. There you go. That's easy. Not Kadarius Toney walking by himself. And by the way, it was like 8 seconds. They just kept the camera on him walking by himself. It was a very odd choice. We'll take a timeout. More Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
We're all on the same page, which is biased fake news and pro-Chief media.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Wrapping things up here on this Victory Monday. Oh, it is so nice. So nice on a Victory Monday.
This offseason is going to be so much more fun, Jason. I was trying not to think about that too much last night because it's a weird way to process a Super Bowl win. But the next few months are just going to be, it's not going to be Eagles fans picking last when the draft is here. It's going to be an offseason of like, can they keep these guys around or how do they adjust? They got all these draft picks and young guys. It's going to be a good year.
I should have had you. I should have said this in the break to see if you can have a number of Patrick Mahomes like facts from last night over, so we can just go back and forth.
Pat
here.
facts, yeah, sure.
Pat facts, packs.
Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl,
or just simply Chiefs in general, like this one. Chiefs ran 53 plays, 21 of them were first downs.
I think 48% of Patrick Mahomes' first down dropbacks were first downs.
Or this one. From Matt Verderam, the Chiefs averaged 6.4 yards per play last night. All season, the Eagles allowed a league-best 4.8 yards per play. The worst defense in yards per play is the Lions at 6.2. So the Chiefs turned the best defense in yards per play into the worst defense in yards per play last night.
The Eagles blitzed Mahomes on 33% of his dropbacks. It was Philly's second highest blitz rate in the 20 games they played this year. Mahomes wasn't sacked once.
You may have mentioned the specifics of the percentages earlier, but I'm going to go ahead and do it again.
Please.
Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl, taking up 17% of his team's salary cap. Previously, there was no quarterback that won a Super Bowl taking up more than 12.5% of their team's salary cap.
66%.
0.6, repeating, of course. Nice. Patrick Mahomes, since suffering the ankle injury against the Jags in the playoffs, after the ankle injury, 62 of 88, 70.4%. 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, 52 rushing yards, and a 113.16 quarterback rating against the Jags in the second half, their defense, the Bengals, and the Eagles. 113 point, essentially 2 quarterback rating.
There were 230 yards available for the Chiefs offense to gain in the second half. They picked up 228 of them, slid down, gave 7 back, kicked a field goal. If Jerick McKinnon wanted to score it, they would have gone 230 for 230.
Patrick Mahomes in 5 years has 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 MVPs, 3 Super Bowl appearances, 5 AFC championship games, 5 AFC West titles, 5 Pro Bowls, 3 All-Pros. NFL Offensive Player of the Year, has won at least 12 games every single year. 2 times he's been the passing touchdown leader, and also he's had a passing yards crown in a season.
Patrick Mahomes has twice as many rings as Aaron Rodgers.
No NFL team's leading rusher in the Super Bowl has made more than $2 million since at least 2009. The only one that did make more than $2 million that season was a member of the Seattle Seahawks who made $2.5 million. Percy Harvin led the team in rushing in that game.
That's right, he did. Patrick Mahomes has now led 4 different playoff comebacks, trailing by double digits. The record is Tom Brady with 6 in his career.
Saw this on ESPN.com today. Why Stephen A. doesn't choose Mahomes over Montana. Whoops, sorry, that's not a stat. That's just something I don't care about. My bad.
In the second half, the Chiefs committed 0 penalties, gave up 0 sacks, and turned the ball over 0 times.
God. That's crazy. I was really worried about some of the self-inflicted stuff. That's nuts.
Didn't he only have 1 incompletion, and that was a throwaway?
It was a throwaway. He was in the second half, Patrick Mahomes was 13 of 14, 93 yards passing. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 33 rushing yards, and a 133.93 quarterback rating in the second half. His team down 10.
We got a stat for you.
Yeah.
All of the adoptable dogs at KC Pet Project have been paid for by Derek Nottie. So if you want to just go get a dog from KC Pet Project, you can get one for free on behalf of Derek Nottie, as they have won the Super Bowl, and that's how he is celebrating. I love Derek Nottie. That's another stat.
Just love Derek Nottie.
Go get a Super Bowl dog.
Based on offensive success rate, the Chiefs' performance was tied for the 6th best of any team this season. That's a sample of 568 different teams in a game that have had an offensive performance. It was the Chiefs' best game by success rate all season. And for just the 3rd time all year, the Eagles did not record a sack in a game.
Joe Thuney has been in the NFL for 7 years and has been to 4 Super Bowls, winning 3.
My next-door neighbor owns a rabbit.
I still have 2 possums in my house. They're ready to go, though, I can tell.
The Eagles had 0 sacks and gave up 38 points.
The Chiefs had 42 players on their 53-man roster last night, different from the 53-man roster when they won the Super Bowl in Miami. 11 players on the 53-man roster. And 5 starters in the 2019 season started last night's game. 5 of 22, 17 new starters in just a couple of years.
3 is both the time we stopped the post-game show and approximately how many hours I laid on the floor in the office for. I think I'm out of stats. Did I say 66% already?
0.6.
Repeating. Yeah, of course. How about this one? Teams scoring 35 or more points in the Super Bowl were 15-0 entering last night. The game was tied 35-35 when that tweet went out.
Then it would have been impossible.
It was impossible.
Patrick Mahomes is the first MVP to win the Super Bowl since '99. He's the first passing yards leader on the season to ever win the Super Bowl.
Oh, one more stat.
Yeah.
The Kansas City Chiefs are Super Bowl champions.